I was walking fast through the cold night, trying to get back to the academy before the dormitory closed at 9:40. My leather shoes clicked against the stone street as I turned into a shortcut. Then everything went wrong. Something dragged me into a dark alley. I screamed, fell into the darkness, and died. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on the ground, confused and in pain. My body felt completely wrong, like it didn't belong to me. Broken memories flashed through my head, but none of them were mine. Then I remembered. The original soul of this body had been torn apart and eaten by some kind of ghost. And somehow, my own spirit had slipped in and taken over. I was alive, but the killer might still be nearby. I forced myself up and ran, ignoring the pain. In the dark alley ahead, I spotted 3 figures. My heart stopped, but as they stepped closer, I saw their red uniforms and badges. Guards. Real ones. I raised my hands and told them I'd been attacked by a ghost. They didn't laugh. They loaded their bullets with glowing yellow liquid and stayed alert, scanning the darkness around us. After a few quiet minutes, they decided to take me to the police station to record everything. On the way, I pieced things together. My AI chip, Emoja, had traveled with me into this world. It had absorbed 2 broken souls and was now rebooting. In about 30 minutes, it would turn into something new, something that belonged here. Right before we reached the station, it activated. Beep. Soul ability, pay to win, online. It could absorb money and convert it into energy I could use to grow stronger, simulate situations, or analyze things around me. Interesting. Very interesting. We arrived at the police station. I was nervous. I was about to be questioned, but my memories of this body were still blurry and scattered. I was scared of saying something wrong and giving myself away. I checked my new ability. It could analyze the original owner's memories, but it cost energy points. I converted some of my coins and spent 2 points to clear up the fog. Slowly, I learned who I used to be, a quiet 19-year-old blacksmith's son, a 7th-year student at the local academy. Nothing special. No enemies. So why was I murdered? The answer came to me quickly. Only a wizard apprentice could control a ghost. The patrol officers had saved me, so it wasn't them. That left one place, the academy. The killer was hiding there, using a ghost so the police's detection magic wouldn't trace it back to them. I also checked my stats. My spirit was too low to become a wizard naturally, but with enough money, I could upgrade it. The ability warned me the cost would keep rising though. Still, it gave me hope. Then a purification pill arrived. 5 silver coins, pay later. I took it. Black smoke rose from my body and the room filled with a burnt smell. The officers finally believed my story. Half an hour later, the deputy chief kicked open the door. Her name was Golia, tall, pale, sharp-eyed, and clearly annoyed at being woken up. She started questioning me hard. I told her everything I could remember. The only person I ever clashed with was little George, the Eastern blacksmith's son, an old family grudge. But that felt too small for murder. Then there was Professor Snape. New instructor. Black robe, cold eyes, strange lab smells, rumored blood experiments. Everyone feared him. He was the most unsettling person I could think of. There were also the square performers from earlier, outsiders with rune-covered props. Hard to ignore. I told Golia my honest guess. The killer was either one of the performers or one of the academy instructors. She tapped the table. No clear motive. No solid clues. Then she leaned forward and asked me something that hit different. Did you accidentally discover someone's secret? Something stirred in the back of my mind. I couldn't quite grab it yet, but I had a feeling she was onto something. We had almost no clues, and everyone felt stuck. Perlisman suggested checking everyone at the academy for traces of ghost energy. It made sense to me. Anyone who had controlled a ghost would still carry that aura on their body. But Golia shook her head. Moving too openly would scare the killer off, and whatever secret was behind this attack would disappear with them. Then she brought out something special, a pair of old metal glasses covered in tiny runes. She called them an energy detector. They let you see invisible forces as colored halos. Red for dangerous magic, blue for spiritual energy, and purple-black for something much darker, forbidden energy. She handed them to me with a warning. Break them, pay 50 silver coins. I put them on and tapped the frame twice. The world changed completely. Silver threads floated in the air, strange marks glowed on the walls, and Golia herself shone with a golden light. Then a flash of blood red swept past the window, and I yanked them off, heart pounding. My ability tried to analyze the glasses, but my energy bar was completely empty. I stared at the locked functions, analysis and deduction, sitting right there and completely out of reach. Both sounded incredible. Analysis could turn any knowledge directly into understanding in my mind. Deduction could build entirely new solutions from existing knowledge. I needed those badly. But first I had to survive. By dawn, Golia let me return to school. She drove me close to the gate, reminded me to report anything new, then left, without giving me a single coin for sending messages. Each message cost 5 copper. Typical. I grabbed a free breakfast, bread, butter, milk, turkey eggs, then dragged myself to class instead of sleeping. Professor Snape's potion lesson was too important to miss. Snape was exactly as unsettling as I remembered. Black robe, cold eyes, dark circles like ink stains. The air in his classroom felt heavy the moment he walked in. He tapped the podium, and a green potion started spinning on its own. He opened by telling us bluntly that most of us would never become wizards. That landed hard on everyone. Then he paused and completely flipped it. You don't have to be a wizard to make potions. The whole class erupted. Even I shot awake instantly. That one sentence felt like a door swinging open. Staying up all night was absolutely worth it. Snape's potion class turned out to be something special. He taught us how to make a basic healing powder, something even ordinary people could do. He laid out 12 ingredients one by one and walked us through every step. My heart was racing. If I could learn this, I could sell the powder and actually make money. But the exact ratios and temperatures were impossible to catch just by watching. Then my ability chimed in. 40 energy points to unlock the full formula. That was 80 silver coins. I had 2 silver left in my pocket. I felt sick. I had to earn money. Fast. As Snape walked out after class, I remembered the glasses. I tapped them quietly and checked his energy traces. Fire, darkness, and necromancy. My stomach dropped. 2 weeks ago, I had gone to his lab looking for him. The door was slightly open. Through the gap, I saw him hunched over a glowing purple potion, looking more excited than I had ever seen him. The moment he noticed me, his face changed completely. He covered the workbench, stepped outside, and closed the door. After that, his eyes always seemed uneasy around me. It had to be him. He thought I had seen too much. I wanted to report it right away, but Mary's class started first. She taught us about runes, how combining them creates spells. She drew 3 runes on the board, touched them, and a piece of chalk floated into the air and spun on its own. My jaw dropped. My ability immediately offered to teach me the full spell for 100 silver coins. Expensive, but I didn't care. I had to find a way. When class ended, I checked Mary too, out of habit. Wind, neutral, and necromancy. I froze. That made no sense. Mary was gentle and kind, nothing like Snape. But the trace was there. Could the real killer have planned for this, leaving traces on innocent people to throw off the investigation? During lunch, I called Golia from the communication room. She told me the visiting performers had already been checked. None had necromantic traces. I shared everything about Snape and my theory. She listened carefully and reminded me not to go anywhere alone. I went back to the dorm and crashed almost instantly. Then I shot awake. It was 2 in the afternoon. Combat training had already started. I ran to the training ground and apologized to teacher Felina. She smiled and let it go. She was wearing a green training outfit, hair tied up, moving like a leopard through the warm-up drills. Everyone called her the green-clad goddess, and honestly, it fit. We practiced the steady breathing technique and basic thrust. As I worked through the thrusts, my ability kept pinging, proficiency going up with every clean strike. Before leaving the training ground, I quietly tapped the glasses one more time and checked Felina. Wind. No attribute. I breathed out slowly. At least she was clear. During training, I started thinking about my future in this world. Most students would never become wizards. Knights were the more realistic path. My agility was already near the top of the class, and if any single attribute hit level 3, I would qualify as a full knight. That wasn't a bad life at all. But with my pay-to-win ability, the wizard path wasn't completely closed either. Maybe I could walk both roads at the same time. Felina came over and corrected my breathing technique, placing her hand on my lower back to show me the right posture. I almost lost my rhythm completely. Then she tapped my wrist to fix my sword grip, and my ears went red. I stared at her focused expression and completely forgot what I was supposed to do next. After training, she called me to her office alone. I was barely through the door when she told me the academy needed to buy equipment from local blacksmiths, and she was thinking of my family's forge. My heart leapt. I had been desperately trying to figure out how to earn money, and the answer just walked up to me. I thanked her with everything I had, maybe a little too enthusiastically. She gave me a look. I tried to smooth things over by complimenting her, which made her narrow her eyes in satisfaction. But then she reminded me firmly that I was basically the same age as her little sister, and she only saw me as a student. When she mentioned her sister, something sad crossed her face for just a second before she hid it. I noticed. I pushed a little, asking about the sister, trying to get closer. Felina frowned and said I seemed completely different from yesterday. I laughed it off, saying nearly getting killed tends to change a person. I gave her a simplified version of last night. Just a wandering spirit. The officers destroyed it. Case closed. I even complained that the police only shut the case to protect their year-end performance review. Felina shook her head at that. She said the officers she knew were responsible and that I was safe inside the academy. Then she put a hand on my shoulder and told me she would protect me too. Then I pushed my luck one step too far. I joked that if she didn't already have someone, I might start liking her. She went red and grabbed the crystal pen off her desk like a warning. I apologized immediately and steered the conversation back to the supply order. She took a breath and let it go, but I could tell she was quietly wondering what on earth had gotten into me today. That night was freezing. Felina and I walked side by side down the street, away from the academy. From a distance, we probably looked like a couple out for an evening walk. But my fists were clenched the whole time. Then she stopped, looked at me with sad eyes, and said, "I'm sorry." Before I could ask why, a glowing strand of magical beast sinew shot out from her pouch, splitting into 3 cords aimed straight at my wrists, ankles, and neck. I dodged on instinct and screamed for help. 2 gunshots rang out. Silver bullets hit the energy core of her spell perfectly, and the sinew dropped to the ground like dead rope. Then a warm wave of magic rushed through my whole body. Golia's resistance boost spell, forming a protective layer across my skin. It held. The trap had worked. We had suspected Felina for several reasons. She came to me about supplies herself instead of going through the proper channels. That was strange. She kept trying to get me to leave the academy at night. She asked too many questions about my situation and about the police. And when I checked her with the detector, she had no dark energy traces at all, which Golia explained could actually mean she had used something to erase them on purpose. The thing that sealed it was the man I remembered seeing. The night of the first attack, I had spotted Felina in a dark alley talking closely with a middle-aged man nobody recognized. When I described him to Golia, he came up as an illegal resident, the kind that usually meant a criminal, spy, or assassin. So we set the trap. I used myself as bait. Golia stayed close. As Policeman's team moved in to arrest her, Felina stopped fighting. She closed her eyes, and a single tear fell onto the stone pavement. She whispered that it was her teacher's fault, that it was all for her sister. Then she said she was sorry. Her sister. I had guessed it was connected, but I still didn't have the full picture. I looked at her for a long moment. Helpless, sad, already defeated. Part of me felt something, but she had tried to kill me twice. I closed my eyes, took a breath, and walked away. I asked Golia what the law said. She told me. Attempted murder meant life in prison, but as a wizard apprentice, Felina could apply for a pardon. 20 years minimum. I asked nervously what would happen if she got out and came after me again. Golia gave me a look, tapped her rune-engraved gun, and told me to stop being so dramatic. The secret was already out. There was no reason to kill me anymore. Then she patted my shoulder so hard I nearly fell over. Her resistance spell clearly hadn't fully worn off yet. She told me to consider joining the police after graduation. Said she would look after me like a sister. I rubbed my shoulder and told her not to count me out of the wizard path just yet. She laughed and said time would teach me reality. I just smiled and told her to wait and see. The danger was over, but the mysterious man Felina had met was still out there. Before we parted ways, I pulled Golia into a dark corner and told her my plan. I would go home and hide for 3 days. Then the police would spread false news that Felina's assassination had succeeded. The man would think I was dead and come out of hiding. Then we could catch him. Golia beamed and said I was smarter than all the big guys on her team combined. She already had people in the city looking into him. Then I asked her for one more favor, to put in a word with the dean so the equipment purchase deal would still go through after Felina's arrest. She raised an eyebrow. 50 gold coins was a big deal, she said. Her reputation wasn't free. We haggled. She asked for 5 gold. I talked her down to 3. Deal. She also reminded me I still owed her for the exorcism potion. Then she checked whether I had broken her energy detector, and looked genuinely disappointed when I handed it back perfectly fine. She brushed off my request for 15 copper in communication reimbursement, told Leiwan to give me a ride home on his magic motorcycle, and walked off into the night. I sighed. The flower of the police station really does love money. I planned to sleep until noon. Instead, Typhlin showed up at dawn and dragged me back to the station. Golia was standing with someone new, her senior brother Swen, a captain from the Internal Affairs Department. He smiled, said Golia had been talking about me all morning, and then handed me a contract. The words at the bottom were printed in glowing red ink. Breaking this agreement equals treason. I didn't sign right away. I asked what the Internal Affairs Department actually was. Golia explained, the highest intelligence agency in the country, reporting directly to the Grand Duke. 3 days in this world, and I was already tangled up with the top spy agency. My head throbbed. I asked if I could refuse. Swen shook his head. I was already involved. So I asked the only question that mattered. Does signing pay anything? Swen laughed. 20 silver a month and a free magic protection talisman. I signed, threw the contract back, and said that would do. Then Swen got serious. He pulled out a glowing magic crystal and 2 portraits. One sent by Golia, one from a stored scroll. Both showed the same black-cloaked man I had seen with Felina. His name was Reese, a level 8 spy from an enemy federation, sent 2 months ago to set up a spy network in the city. He had slipped past border detection using an unknown invisibility spell, and the Internal Affairs Department had been chasing cold leads ever since, until I accidentally spotted him in an alley. Swen clapped me on the shoulder and said I had cracked open their biggest case. I touched my chin. Golia raised an eyebrow. We both asked at exactly the same moment, "Is there a reward?" We looked at each other. Our eyes were shining the exact same way. I thought, at least I am not alone in loving money. Swen told me there was no reward money, just 1 merit point I could exchange for basic magic tools later. I tried not to look too disappointed. Then he got serious. Reese was still out there, and I was one of only 2 people who had seen his face. The plan was to use that to set a trap and catch him. I thought my job was simple, just pretend to be dead. But then Golia leaned in with a mysterious smile and told me something that turned everything upside down. Felina never actually wanted to kill me. I sat back and thought about it. It did make more sense that way. A teacher who wanted me dead wouldn't invite me home to talk about supply orders first. Golia pulled out an old scroll covered in dark runes, a slave contract. Felina's plan was to knock me out and force me to sign it. That way I couldn't reveal her secret, and she could show Reese she had completed his test without actually killing anyone. Then the full story came out. Felina's younger sister was dying from heart failure. A skilled undead apprentice could grow her a new heart using stem cells, but it would cost 100 gold coins and had to be done within 5 years. Felina had no way to earn that much in time. Word spread among wealthy circles and eventually reached Reese, who had just arrived in the city looking to build a spy network. He offered her the money in exchange for her cooperation. Desperate, she agreed. When I accidentally saw them together that night, Reese used it as a test. He ordered Felina to eliminate me to prove her loyalty. She couldn't bring herself to kill her own student, so she came up with the slave contract instead. I stared at the ceiling for a moment, feeling strange. Enslaved or killed, I wasn't sure which was worse. Golia offered to sell me the slave contract for 60 silver coins. Apparently victims could receive it as compensation. I bought it on credit. It was rare, and I had a feeling it might be useful someday. I even asked carefully whether using it in self-defense would be illegal. Golia rolled her eyes, but confirmed it would be fine under proportional defense laws. Swen stepped in before I got any further ideas. Felina was now an internal affairs undercover agent. Slaves couldn't be spies. That door was closed. Then he explained what I actually needed to do. Felina had already sent Reese a message through his communication node saying she had successfully enslaved me. Reese would likely show up soon, but carefully, probably using an invisibility spell first to watch us and make sure everything looked normal before revealing himself. So my job wasn't to pretend to be dead. I had to pretend to be Felina's slave. I looked at Swen and Golia and sighed. So I go from nearly being killed to nearly being enslaved to now voluntarily acting like a slave. all in 3 days. I spread my hands and said nothing. There really was no good option here. Getting pulled into the internal affairs department was not part of my plan, but once I flipped through their merit exchange manual, I stopped complaining. The things inside were incredible. Magic resistance spells, corpse questioning scrolls, protective cloaks, and most importantly, the basic meditation method for just 20 merit points. That one item could build a stable consciousness space and slowly grow my mental strength. Without it, casting magic without proper training could shatter my mind completely. This was my clearest path forward. Earn merit points, get the meditation method, reach 3.0 mental strength, become a wizard apprentice before the big exam. Every step was clear now. After leaving the station, I walked with Felina toward home. She looked different, quieter, lighter somehow, like someone who had finally put down a heavy weight. Her eyes carried guilt, but also something else I couldn't quite name. I looked away and focused on what mattered. The equipment purchase. Money. Strength. In that order. I also decided I would still pay Golia her 3 gold coins. 3 gold to stay on good terms with a skilled wizard at the police station was absolutely worth it. We arrived at the blacksmith shop around noon. My father Padif was outside working. Thick arms, leather apron, iron hammer with runes engraved on it. He looked like he could lift a wall. I hadn't seen him yet since arriving in this world. I was nervous. I'm an orphan from Blue Star. I don't know how to have a father. But when he spotted me, he threw off his apron and crushed me in a hug so tight I could barely breathe. I stood there stiff for a moment, then let myself lean into it. Felina explained the procurement plan. Padif trusted me completely and signed the contract without hesitation. We sat by the fireplace and talked. Padif asked about my life at the academy. His concern was so simple and real that something loosened inside me. For the first time in both my lives, I felt what it meant to have a father. My eyes went wet. I told myself quietly, I cannot betray this. Then something shifted. The memories that had always felt distant and foggy suddenly felt like my own. Padif and List's daily life, their small routines, their history together, it all became clear. My ability chimed softly. The residual soul had merged further. Mental strength up to 1.9. After dinner, Padif and I made plans. He would hire more workers and expand the forge. I would travel to the city soon to order a magic production machine for parts. Then I carefully told him about a mental strength potion available through Deputy Director Golia's contacts in the city. It could help me reach the level needed to become a wizard apprentice. Padif frowned at first, worried about scammers. But when I mentioned Golia's name and her ability to detect magical energy, he relaxed and agreed. Things were finally moving forward. Back at the academy, Felina handed me the signed supply contract along with a 20 gold coin deposit as compensation. My fingers trembled holding the coin pouch. That was more money than I had ever seen. I did the math quickly, then made my decision. I converted 5 gold coins into 250 energy points. First, I spent 200 points to raise my mental strength by 0.1. The effect was immediate. The world felt sharper and clearer, like fog lifting from my thoughts. With the remaining 50 points, I unlocked the full recipe for the inferior healing powder. The information didn't feel like learning. It felt like remembering something I had always known. Every ratio, every step, every detail, perfectly clear. I asked Felina if the academy had the ingredients. She raised an eyebrow and asked if I had really learned the formula. I closed my eyes and recited the whole thing from memory, even tracing the rune gestures in the air. She looked surprised, then took me to the laboratory. She warned me first, magical potion making was dangerous. A temperature off by 0.1 degrees or a half-second delay could ruin everything, or worse, cause a magical explosion. She remembered her own first attempt, which turned her hair green. I gripped the magic tweezers and quietly spent 1 energy point to activate the real-time guidance function. At every critical moment, the ability told me exactly what to do. Lower the temperature by 5 degrees. Add this ingredient in 3 seconds. Insert the shell at exactly 45 degrees. My hands looked clumsy and nervous, but every single step landed perfectly. The cauldron glowed green. First attempt, success. Felina stared at me like she couldn't believe it. She said I had just gotten lucky, so I made a bet. If I succeeded a second time, she had to give me a kiss. She crossed her arms and said no student had ever succeeded twice in a row on their first day. That was as good as agreeing. I started again. Every time my hand shook near a dangerous step, I spent 1 energy point and the instructions appeared instantly. Clumsy movements, but always correct at the exact right moment. Felina watched with wide eyes, her knuckles white from gripping her clothes. 15 minutes later, the cauldron glowed blue and a fresh herbal scent filled the room. She stood completely still, forgetting to close her magic manual. I picked up the finished bottle and shook it with a grin. She looked at me for a long, quiet moment, then brushed her hair behind her ear and leaned forward. Just a light touch on my cheek, soft, quick, and gone. I touched the spot and smiled to myself. She had tried to enslave me 2 days ago, but she had a reason. She had made amends, and now we were standing side by side in a potion lab. I decided to let it go and move forward. Training had become my main focus. I couldn't become a wizard apprentice yet, so the night path was where I could actually grow. With my pay-to-win ability turning every rep into visible numbers, I pushed myself harder than ever. Finally, both my night training method and basic swordsmanship hit 100 out of 100. Then Jackson showed up. He was the land bureau chief's son, confident, talented, and apparently furious that I had been spending time with Felina. George was hiding behind him, clearly the one who put him up to this. Jackson drew his sword and told me to stay away from my own mentor, or he would beat me every time he saw me. I told him not to let others use him like a tool. He took that as a challenge. He said the loser had to obey the winner. I agreed, but added that if he lost, he had to do something for me. I was already thinking about building a weapons workshop, and his father's land bureau connections could be useful. Before we started, I used my analysis ability to check his stats. He was strong, with higher endurance than me and a secret night technique called counterattack. I didn't know exactly what it did, but the name was enough to make me cautious. So I spent my energy points right there. 30 points total, 20 to upgrade the night training method to proficient, 10 for basic swordsmanship. The moment the upgrade hit, a warm current rushed through my whole body. Every movement suddenly felt natural and precise, like I had practiced these techniques for years. My agility jumped to 3.0, night level. Jackson attacked confidently. He planned to absorb my strikes and then counter in one move. I hit him hard from the start. His hand went numb on the first block, and he couldn't recover. I kept pushing, second strike, third, faster each time. He was only dodging now. I counted quietly in my head. I knew he was waiting for the right moment. On his 10th count, he drove off the ground and swung fast at my wrist. That was the counterattack. I had been saving speed for exactly this. My wrist turned, sword blurred, and the edge caught his wrist before his blow landed. His sword dropped. Blood dripped onto the ground. The crowd went silent. I pulled out my healing powder and sprinkled it on his wrist. The bleeding stopped and the wound closed. Everyone stared like they had never seen healing powder before. I leaned in close and reminded him quietly what he had promised. Then I walked away and stood under a tree to think. My ability chimed. I could spend 40 energy points to learn the counterattack technique after watching Jackson use it. Sneaky move, strong in the right situation. But I was out of points for now. I patted my empty pocket and told myself, next time. Felina called me to her office that night. She asked about the fight with Jackson. I told her straight. He challenged me because he was obsessed with her and wanted me to stay away. Felina went red, but couldn't hide that she was a little flattered. She asked if I would have really stayed away if I had lost. I grinned and told her there was no chance of that happening. Then she got serious. Reese had sent a message. He was coming to Grey Mist Mountain. We didn't know where he would contact us yet, just that it would be soon. I asked what kind of person he was. Felina said mysterious, unpredictable. I didn't like the sound of that at all. What worried me more was his level. Senior wizard apprentice. Our side only had intermediate apprentices. I was just an ordinary person with a gun I had never fired before. I needed protection. Felina mentioned a recipe for an inferior defense potion, something even an ordinary person could make. She couldn't brew it herself, she admitted quietly, looking down. Not great at potions, so I did it myself. I used my pay-to-win ability to analyze the recipe, then spent the rest of the night in the academy lab with Felina watching. Following the panel's step-by-step instructions, I heated ingredients, adjusted temperatures, stirred at the right moments, and avoided magical overflow. In the end, a milky white paste filled 2 doses. I punched it after it dried on my skin, no mark. Around 70 to 80% as effective as Golia's resistance boost spell. I also borrowed chainmail from the academy, heavy on the shoulders, but it made me feel safer. Then I spent more energy points unlocking 4 more potion recipes. Vitality, Agility, Power, and later Divine Clarity. Each one gave temporary boosts with side effects afterward, but in a fight against a high-level wizard, temporary might be all I needed. I brewed everything except the last one and stocked up. Felina watched me work and said if things went well, she would help me become a wizard apprentice one day. Said my potion talent was real. Then a note arrived at the gate, written in code. Felina decoded it using an old history book, Apartment 20, Fimmon Street. Tonight at 8 p.m. I checked my watch. 7:10. I complained there was no time to eat. Felina told me to stop thinking about food. She reminded me of the plan. Call her master, stay quiet, let her handle Reese. I bowed and said yes, master, getting into character. We had been practicing this for days. We grabbed bicycles and rode fast through the cold streets, wind cutting into our faces. Riding felt exactly like the bikes back on Blue Star. It made me think. This world jumped straight from bicycles to magical witch boxes for the wealthy, skipping everything in between. Electric scooters, cargo tricycles, nobody had thought of them here. I stroked my chin. That gap between civilizations was worth money. A lot of it. We arrived at Fimmon Street at 7:45. The house in front of us was old, with vines crawling up the walls and a rusty iron gate. Felina and I looked at each other. This place was not for ordinary people. Then something clicked in my memory. An old newspaper, a headline. I slapped my forehead. I remembered now. This house was. I leaned close to Felina and told her what had just clicked in my memory. This was Officer Wilson's house. Wilson, the senior knight who lost the deputy director position to Golia 2.5 years ago and never got over it. Reese had found him and turned him. A corrupted officer, bitter and resentful, now working for the enemy. That meant Reese knew everything that happened at the police station. We both felt it at the same time. Were we walking into a trap? Then a cold voice came from the second-floor window. Come in. Felina pressed her badge to calm herself. Swin and Golia would set up a magic barrier at 8 o'clock. She just needed to stall until 8:05. She gave me the order quietly. Open the door. I pushed it open without hesitating and stepped aside to let her through. Inside, Reese was leaning on a gem-studded staff, smoking a rune pipe, looking completely relaxed. He greeted Felina with a smile. Wilson stood in the shadows behind him, big and silent, wrapped in a dark coat. Felina stayed calm and immediately asked about the 20 gold coins. Reese pointed to a leather box in the corner. Then his eyes shifted to me. That gaze carried magical pressure. My skin went cold. He said I wasn't part of the agreement. A slave contract wasn't safe enough. He raised his staff toward me, the gem beginning to glow. Cold sweat ran down my back. My hand moved quietly to the defensive potion in my pocket. Felina stepped in front of me and started talking fast. Killing a student at the academy would trigger a serious investigation. Golia's tracking skills were too strong. Keeping things quiet was safer. She even asked Reese to check with Wilson. Wilson nodded from the shadows. Reese lowered his staff slightly, but then raised it again. He said it still wasn't enough reason. Basic obedience had to be maintained. I was already planning my escape route. Then Felina played her last card. She told him I was a potion genius, that I could learn almost any recipe almost instantly. She said Reese had come to US City to build an organization, and any organization needed supplies. Magic barriers in the kingdom were strict and outside deliveries were difficult. But my father was the best blacksmith in town, with a magic furnace, a school contract, and an expanding factory. I could be useful, really useful. Reese leaned forward. The gem on his staff slowly dimmed. He lowered it. Felina let out a quiet breath. So did I? The tension in the room dropped once Felina convinced Reese I was worth keeping alive. She pushed further, calling me an alchemy genius who had mastered several potion recipes in just 1 or 2 attempts. Reese's eyes changed. He stopped thinking about killing me. He tested me directly, asked how swift bird feathers were used in the inferior agility potion. My pay-to-win ability had already stored every detail. I answered calmly and correctly. Reese nodded, satisfied. Then he opened the leather case. 25 gold coins for Felina, 5 more than promised. I watched her eyes light up and felt cold inside. Reese knew exactly how to pull people in. If things had gone differently, he could have slowly owned her completely. He handed 10 coins to me for expanding my father's blacksmith shop into a weapons factory. 5 more went to Wilson. Reese then told Wilson that Felina was his superior from now on. All communication would go through her. Wilson hated that. He was already bitter about losing his position to Golia, and now he had to answer to someone around the same age. He tried to test us, mentioning he had seen me and Felina at the police station recently. I glanced at the clock. 8:02. The police were supposed to surround the place by 8 o'clock. I held my breath and hoped Felina was quick enough. She smiled coolly and told Wilson that weapons suppliers had to register at the police station. Didn't he know that rule? Wilson had no comeback. Reese nodded. I silently gave Felina a thumbs up. Then Reese's expression changed. The detection rune on his staff flashed red. His traps had been triggered. He moved to the window, pulled back the curtain, looked down, and went pale. He spun around and looked straight at us, killing intent back in his eyes. I kicked sideways and activated my agility potion the moment his staff lit up. 2 lightning arrows shot out, one toward me, one toward Felina. I moved fast, but not fast enough. The arrow grazed my shoulder. The chainmail tore open and blood poured out. Even with the defense potion and all my stat boosts, it punched a thumb-sized hole through me. Without the preparation I had done, I would have been completely finished. I pressed my left hand over the wound, pulled the revolver with my right, and fired at Reese's head. His floating knight armor moved instantly and blocked the shot with a magic barrier. Felina was already gone from her spot. She dodged, formed hand signs, and summoned a skeleton knight from a crack in the air. Black mist poured out. The skeleton stepped forward, and she hid behind it, launching bone arrows from her palms. Reese bent sideways. The arrows hit the wall instead. Then a loud crash shook the building. The iron door downstairs was kicked completely off its hinges. A rough, laughing voice filled the stairwell. Golia's team had arrived. Reese lowered his staff. The runes dimmed. His floating armor still hovered around him, glowing faintly, ready for anything. Wilson crouched behind Reese, shaking. The room went silent. The only sounds were blood dripping from my shoulder and the soft hum of Reese's armor. Everyone stared at the staircase and waited. The moment Golia appeared at the top of the stairs, Wilson completely lost it. He screamed her name and ran for the window. He barely touched the frame before a shot rang out from somewhere outside. He dropped to the floor and didn't get up. Reese looked at the window, then at the stairs, and understood. Too many guns outside. Even his protective runes couldn't stop everything. He was finished and he knew it. Then Swen walked in behind Golia, calm as ever. Reese stared at him and actually recognized him, called him Firefox. Swen smiled and said he was flattered. Then he pointed at me, crouched behind Felina pressing healing powder into my shoulder, and told Reese that his entire capture came down to one person. Me. Reese went very still. His eyes locked onto me like he was burning my face into his memory. I shrank back and grabbed my potion bottle out of habit. I was done being polite. I turned to Swen and complained loudly. This man had tried to kill me on sight. I had nearly died multiple times, and this whole mission was a nightmare. Golia walked over, poked at my healing wound with one finger, and told me I was pretty lucky to still be breathing. Reese muttered he wished he had killed me the moment he saw me. I complained to Swen about that too. Swen patted my shoulder and told me to calm down. He said the organization would reimburse everything I had used, and if I helped convince Reese to switch sides, I would earn 10 merit points. That was more than half of what I needed for a basic meditation spell. I started calculating quietly. Reese laughed at the idea of a spy ever turning, said it had never happened before and never would. Swen smiled and said there was a first time for everything. Then he said something that made Reese freeze completely. He named Reese's wife and daughter, their address in the Fading Federation. Reese shot to his feet, slammed his staff on the floor, eyes red. He thought Swen was threatening them. But Swen held up a hand and explained slowly. He was not threatening anyone. He was offering to bring Reese's family here, safely, within 7 days. Reese went quiet. Then he said it was impossible. His family was under constant surveillance. Any movement, and the organization would know immediately. Swen nodded like he had already planned for this. He mentioned someone called the 1,000 Faces, a top spy who used witchcraft disguise so perfect that even advanced detection equipment couldn't catch her. She had once lived inside the Fading Intelligence Bureau for nearly 3 years, disguised as a senior official's wife, completely undetected. Nobody had ever identified her true face. Finding her was still a top-secret mission in the Fading organization, and nobody had succeeded. If the 1,000 Faces stepped in to replace Reese's wife while the real family was smuggled out, no one would notice. Reese tapped the table slowly, saying nothing for a long moment. He was almost there. Reese had one last problem. The Fading Federation had injected all their spies with a slow-acting magical drug. Without regular suppressants, they would lose their minds completely. He rolled up his sleeve to show the injection mark. Swin reached into his pocket and pulled out a small crystal bottle of blue liquid. He told Reese the Red Soul already had an antidote for it. Reese sat forward, genuinely surprised. He hadn't expected that. Swin put the bottle away and said nothing more about it. That was enough. After a few more exchanges, both sides had said what needed saying. Reese wasn't in danger anymore. His family could be brought here safely. The drug had an antidote. If the Red Soul could deliver on all of that, he was willing to work with them. Maybe even play both sides and wait to see which path led to becoming a full wizard. Swin nodded, satisfied. He confiscated Reese's staff and locked his wrists with rune-marked shackles. Golia sent a magic message to pull the police back. They didn't need to meet Reese. The room went quiet. Just 5 of us and Wilson's body on the floor. Then Swin clapped his hands and said it was time to divide the loot. He explained the rules. Members keep 80% of anything reasonably obtained during a mission. The 20% goes to the organization. The remaining 80% is split between the leader, deputy, members, and outside helpers. I was counted as an outside helper, which meant I was included. I quietly clenched my fist. Good. Nearly dying multiple times was worth something after all. Reese was brought in as vice captain under Swin's team. His share would be settled once he officially joined. Felina opened a magic box and counted out the gold. She kept 23 coins and pushed 12 toward me. 10 as mission funds and 2 as her own thanks for being her partner through all of this. The communication structure was set. Reese would handle daily contact with Felina. I would be Felina's contact to Swin. Everything stayed quiet and separate to prevent leaks. Then the weapons factory plan came up. Reese had been ordered to secretly build and store weapons inside Red Soul territory. Clearly Fading was preparing for war, planning to either arm rebels or cause chaos when fighting broke out. I leaned forward and thought it through. These weapons were on our soil. We could let Fading pay for everything and believe the factory was theirs, but control every single weapon ourselves. When the time came, they would find nothing where they expected their arsenal to be. I patted the table and said it clearly. Let Fading fund the whole thing. We keep control. Pure profit, zero risk on our side. Swin looked at me. So did Felina. Nobody disagreed. The plan worked perfectly. Reese would report to Fading that the weapons were being produced, keep requesting funds, and we would quietly store everything under our control. When Fading tried to activate their secret arsenal, they would find it had become ours completely. Reese and Swin both admitted it was sneaky. Neither could argue against it. I earned 2 more merit points, 13 total now, getting closer to the meditation method I needed. The weapons order alone would bring in 15 to 20 gold coins over the next few months. Plus our share of Wilson's raided belongings added another 6 or 7. I was quietly getting close to having enough coins to upgrade my mental power through pay to win. Relying on the country really was the fastest way to get rich. By 9 at night, everything was wrapped up. Swin took Reese back to the city quietly. Golia headed back to the station to write her report on Wilson and arrange a promotion for Leiwan, partly because I had just promised her 1 gold coin for it. Felina and I rode our bicycles home through the cold, dark streets. No more master and servant act. Just the 2 of us and 2 separate bikes, unfortunately. She leaned slightly toward me as we rode and said it was finally a happy ending for everyone. Her sister could start treatment tomorrow with the 20 coins. She even said she might introduce us someday. I congratulated her, then ruined it slightly by joking that she really should have asked Reese for the full 100 coins up front instead of installments. What if he backed out? She swung her fist at my head. I dodged. Her bicycle tipped. I caught her before she fell. She ended up leaning into my arms for just a moment. We looked at each other. Time felt like it stopped. Then an older passerby coughed loudly and told us to be careful on the street. Felina jumped back, face completely red, and pushed her bicycle forward without looking at me. After a few quiet seconds, she said something honest, that she never expected to end up as partners with her own student in a spy organization. She asked me to keep helping her. I told her not to worry. I had 2 inventions ready that could make serious money. I also offered her a role as security advisor for the weapons factory, 10% of profits, just for lending her name and wizard reputation to keep troublemakers away. She smiled, and said she believed in me. Then she said partners shouldn't charge each other. I told her that was exactly why we needed to keep it professional for now. The factory would attract attention. My father and I didn't have the standing to protect it alone. Her name did. She slowed her bicycle and looked at me for a long moment. Then she leaned over quickly and kissed my cheek, light as a dragonfly touching water, and laughed as she pedaled away fast into the darkness. I reached out too late and could only chase after her through the cold wind, grinning like an idiot. The first snow of the season began to fall. Gray mist mountain town turned white and quiet, like something from a fairy tale. The next day we met again like nothing had happened, both of us ignoring the curious looks from other teachers and students. I had questions about the Republic's laws on inventions. Felina told me the wizard world valued the protection of knowledge above almost everything else. There was even a principle called fair exchange that covered exactly this kind of thing. I listened carefully. My next move was already taking shape. Felina walked me through the knowledge protection laws of the duchy. Inventions could be protected for anywhere from 5 to 50 years, depending on how significant they were. The creators set their own prices, with the duchy approving them. For anything truly world-changing, the legendary Wizard Council stepped in. It was a solid system, much better than having my ideas stolen the moment I shared them. With that settled, I handed Felina 2 blueprints I had drawn from memory and adapted for this world. I named them the Little Wizard Donkey and the 3-wheeled vehicle. She looked at the first one and said it looked almost exactly like a bicycle with an extra metal box attached. I nodded and told her that metal box was everything. I explained the idea. The box would store a small amount of wind energy, then release it through connecting parts into a sealed chamber where metal blades would spin a shaft and the shaft would drive the wheel. The rider wouldn't need to pedal at all. Felina's eyes went wide. She said it was almost like a wizard box. I explained the difference. A wizard box could cover 50 to 100 kilometers at high speed and needed serious infrastructure. The Little Wizard Donkey was built for 10 to 30 kilometers of everyday travel, quiet streets, short trips, middle-class people who couldn't afford a wizard box but wanted something better than a bicycle. Different market, much lower price, much more accessible. The higher-end version, something like a magical locomotive, was a project for later. Felina thought about costs. The wind energy storage component would be the main expense, but since the requirements were low, she estimated around 10 silver coins for the core module. Total production cost around 15 silver coins. Selling price could reach 25 silver coins easily. She started doing the math out loud. Gray Mist Mountain Town alone had around 10,000 bicycles, with maybe 4,000 to 5,000 people who could and would buy something like this. Profit margins around 40%. Just in this one small town, the market was worth roughly 1,000 gold coins. Her eyes went completely bright. Then she looked at me carefully, lowered her voice, and asked if I realized how valuable this was. She even asked if I was worried she might keep it for herself. I smiled and told her what was mine was hers anyway. And beyond that, I wasn't a wizard apprentice yet. I couldn't design the core energy module alone. The only wizard apprentice I trusted with something this important was her. I told Felina we couldn't wait. War was coming, and we needed to move fast. Her sister still needed 80 more gold coins for treatment, and I hadn't forgotten that. Something in her expression shifted. She leaned forward and kissed me. We stayed close for a long moment. I didn't want to let go. She held my hands back and told me this wasn't the place, but tonight, at her apartment. Then she turned away and pretended nothing had happened, though her breathing told a different story. After a quiet moment, we got back to business. I told her the energy module design for both inventions was now in her hands. She said it wasn't complicated and she could have the drawings ready by the next night. I held her hand and laid out the next step. We would file the inventions under her name as primary and mine as secondary. She would receive 20% of profits. She thought that was too generous given that the core ideas came from me, but she didn't argue. She just smiled quietly and agreed. She also said we needed to file internationally, in the Fading Federation too. No loopholes. I hadn't expected her to think that far ahead. She was more sharp than she let on. That night it snowed. The streetlights glowed through falling flakes as I slipped quietly into the teacher's residence area and knocked on her door. She opened it wearing a light green silk nightdress, shy but smiling. I uncorked the wine I had brought. We talked softly, and as the night deepened, everything that had been building between us finally happened naturally. The next morning, she shook me awake and pushed me toward the door, face completely red, telling me to leave before the other teachers saw anything. I laughed and said we had done nothing wrong. She said I was still technically her student and that it would be embarrassing. I didn't argue. She needed her space and left to start another day of classes. By evening, I wanted to go back, but Jackson found me first. A few days earlier, I had asked him to arrange a meeting with his father, Slav, the director of the Land Bureau. Today, the reply came. His father agreed to meet me. I needed to buy 2 large pieces of land. One for the weapons factory, with room to expand later for the Little Wizard Donkey and 3-wheeled vehicle production. The other for storing the weapons made for the Fading Federation, weapons that would ultimately never reach them. Finding the right land alone would take weeks. But the person who knew every available plot in Gray Mist Mountain Town better than anyone else was sitting right across from me through Jackson, the Land Bureau director himself. Jackson took me to his home on Fordu Street, not far from my own place. His father, Slav, the Land Bureau director, met us in his study. I could tell he hadn't expected much from a student visit, but I got straight to the point. I told him I needed to buy 4 to 5 hectares of land. The room went very quiet. Slav stared at me for a second, then his whole attitude changed. He invited me in warmly and listened carefully as I explained what I needed. First plot, 2 to 3 hectares, close to the academy, flat ground, connected to main roads, existing buildings preferred. This would hold 4 factories, 2 for weapons and equipment orders, 2 for the Little Wizard Donkey and 3-wheeled vehicle production. Second plot, about 2 hectares, somewhere remote and quiet with basic road access. For storage, and possibly some experiments I couldn't do in town. I laid out the academy contract and the police station filing documents on the table. Slav looked them over carefully. Everything was legal and real. His expression shifted from suspicious to genuinely interested. A large investment like this would help the town's finances and look great on his record. He had every reason to help. Jackson stood to the side watching all of this with a complicated look on his face. I noticed him clenching his fists quietly. Slav asked him to pull out a large leather map and spread it on the floor. My pay-to-win ability immediately offered to analyze the map and unlock a location function for the town. I spent 20 silver coins without hesitating. Slav knew the terrain better than anyone. He suggested 3 factory locations within 5 kilometers of the academy. The first one immediately caught my eye. It was a vacant lot just south of the academy's northwest corner, separated from the teacher's residence area by a small lake. To the north was a forest with some abandoned buildings. A main road to the south led straight to the town center and police station. And last night, I had seen that exact lake through Felina's bedroom window. I patted the map and said that one was settled. Slav smiled and said I had good taste. The land was about 3 hectares, the original academy site before they moved and rebuilt. It had been sitting empty ever since. I kept my real reasons to myself. Then he sent Jackson out of the room, lowered his voice, and told me the listed price was 5 copper coins per square meter. At that rate, 5 hectares would cost 25 gold coins. But he personally knew the heads of the Planning Bureau and Commerce Bureau. With the right policies, production facility discounts, and new industry rebates, the real cost could drop to around 7 gold and 50 silver coins. Coming to see Slav today was absolutely the right decision. Slav and I reached an agreement quickly. I offered him 3 gold coins to handle the arrangements with the other 2 bureau directors. He was satisfied. I was satisfied. The factory land was as good as settled. Then we looked at the map again for the warehouse site. Slav said it was better to combine everything into one application to get the full discount. I changed my plan and looked for something closer to the factory. After studying the map, Slav found a spot about 7 kilometers northeast, an old abandoned iron mine backed against Gray Mist Mountain, about 2 hectares with a small forest nearby. The land price was almost nothing because of one problem. Undead monsters and ghosts had been spotted there. The police had checked it out, sealed it off, and left it alone since the creatures hadn't caused trouble outside the area. Anyone who bought it had to deal with the monsters themselves. I thought about it. Felina was a necromancer. Undead creatures didn't scare her, and I had already absorbed the ghost she once sent after me. There was some odd symmetry in that, but I didn't know the full situation yet, so I told Slav I would go investigate the site with Felina first before deciding. Slav nodded and said he would handle the paperwork in the meantime. On the walk back to the academy, Jackson and I talked more than we ever had before. The duel felt far away now. We were both students from the same lower academy, and in the future we would probably move in the same circles. No point making enemies out of someone who might be useful, and vice versa. My impression of him changed. That night I thought about visiting Felina, but decided against it. She needed her space. Instead, I fell asleep thinking about the next day, our day off. The land work was done for now. I decided to take her to Gelly City. She agreed immediately when I asked. Gelly City was about 100 kilometers away. Felina rented a bright pink magic box from the academy. 6 seats, small trunk, controlled by a floating crystal ball that responded to hand movements. The average speed on the road was 200 to 300 kilometers per hour. Clean energy from particles in the air, no noise, no smoke. As we drove, Felina told me about magic trains reaching 500 kilometers per hour and airships hitting 1,000. There were even rumors that the Federation had broken the sound barrier with experimental aircraft. That explained why the Red Soul Principality had been cautious despite constant border provocations. Their navy was weaker, and the Federation held an edge in the air. Soldiers on bicycles in dark red uniforms patrolled the wide 6-lane road. The whole scene felt organized, powerful, and alive. Sitting next to Felina, watching a new world roll past the window at high speed, I felt something I hadn't felt since arriving here. Real hope. Gyus City ranks lower among nearly 20,000 cities in the Crimson Soul Kingdom and is only middle-ranked in Mani Province. This is closely related to the conservative policies of the hereditary Viscount Visman family who govern the city. Most directly controlled cities in the kingdom develop much better. As Felina explains, many advanced industries and technologies are not seen in Gyus City. Perhaps this is a flaw of the feudal noble system. Noble landowners are less interested in developing their territories and more focused on their family's progress and personal strength. As they chat and laugh, half an hour of magic quickly passes, and the shadow of Gyus City appears in the distance. High on the horizon, a dozen tall chimneys rise, spewing dark gray smoke that looks like 15 long snakes floating in the sky. Getting closer to Gyus City, the first thing seen are large plantations. These plantations mainly grow raw materials needed for inferior potions, which generally do not require strict energy particle conditions. There are also some glasshouse-like plantations that need more demanding cultivation conditions. Usually, magic arrays are set up to increase the concentration of energy particles in the air. These are buildings used to cultivate the raw materials for low-level magical potions. After quickly passing the large plantations, the industrial zone appears. The tall chimneys seen from afar are part of this area, forming a faint ring around Gyus City. It looks like the city is built in a circular shape, similar to the imperial capital in List's previous world. The industrial zone is full of large steel factories, with the sounds of machinery and loud factory broadcasts echoing far away. Labor is glorious. Work hard for 100 days to complete the Crimson Flame Army order, with a 20% bonus for everyone. Li Zi felt as if he had returned to the research institute. He looked at the factories in the distance, where he could vaguely see a variety of products being made. The production was very strong, and the scene looked lively and prosperous. However, this was still Goal City, ranked low in the Felina Kingdom according to Felina. He wondered what the other, higher-ranked cities looked like. After a careful look, he noticed 2 or 3 factories that made machinery. He turned to Felina, who was leaning beside him, and asked, "Felina, weapon factories need or refining furnaces, medium precision lathes, and forging machines. Do you know which factories or merchant groups in Goal City sell these?" Felina looked outside and pointed at a distant factory with an S symbol. For or smelting, it's this mountain metallurgy plant. The high-level officials of the Research Institute are from a gray dwarf family skilled in metallurgy. Gray dwarfs are common intelligent humanoids who have fully integrated into human society. Don't be surprised if you see them. The mountain metallurgy plant's furnaces are of high quality and excellent performance. Many wizard apprentices who study alchemy need to melt rare metals. Most of the apprentices I know buy their furnaces from the mountain metallurgy plant. She paused, seeing that Li Zi had no other questions, and continued. For medium precision lathes and forging machines, I recommend the Red Soul Machinery Group. It is a group under the military department that produces various types of machinery. Their products are complete and reliable. Li Zi smiled upon hearing this. So traveling with Professor Felina is the best choice. These things can't be learned from books, and solving these problems myself would be a big hassle. Felina smiled slightly and asked, "Shall we go directly to these two groups?" "Not yet. The wizard box we've been driving is tired after so long. Let's first go to the carnival and book a room. We can enjoy Goal City for a couple of days. Buying equipment is secondary. Spending time with you is the main thing." Li Zi grinned mysteriously. Using the wizard box does consume some of the driver's mental energy, but it's very little. The Carnival is a famous luxury hotel within the Felina Kingdom, suitable for middle-class people who care about quality life. One night was not cheap, costing about 10 silver coins, more expensive than an ordinary knight's sword. But Lis didn't want his woman to feel wronged. The Carnival is one of the few buildings in Gyua City that has more than 10 floors. During the off-season, Lis was lucky to book a suite on the top 23rd floor, almost able to overlook the entire city. Lis held the charming Felina in his arms, standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the lively Gyua City. Feeling the boy's body change behind her, her body temperature quickly rose, and her fair skin flushed with a drunken blush. Lis softly whispered in her ear, "Minter, let's rest for a while." Felina turned around, her eyes becoming dreamy. "Yes." Lis leaned down and kissed her, giving an order. "Call me master today. I was also your Minter's servant for several days before." Felina shyly lowered her head, her voice like a mosquito's hum. "Master, let me serve you during rest, okay?" This rest lasted a whole day and night. Savoring the experience. Family-friendly version. Early the next morning, around 4 or 5 o'clock, Lis, exhausted, finally fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, it was almost noon. Felina had already woken up, looking at him with affection, gently touching his chest with her delicate hand. Lis secretly felt regretful. He had said they would just have fun in Gyua City, but they ended up being wild in the hotel for 2 whole days. They still had to rush back to Gray Mist Mountain Town at night, and in the afternoon, they had to discuss equipment purchases. It seemed there was no time for sightseeing. Next time would be better. Felina was very happy, feeling satisfied and enjoying this private time with Lis, like a sweet little wife. Lis got up and left, feeling a bit shaky in his legs. The body of a wizard apprentice was truly formidable. If he didn't improve his physical strength quickly, he might not die on the battlefield but at home. The college library had many books, especially in medicine, with formulas for strengthening the body and nourishing vitality. It was time to go to the library and analyze a few similar formulas. Lis first took the happily smiling Felina to the mountain metallurgy branch in the city center to discuss the purchase of a smelting furnace, ordering 4 sets at once. These smelting furnaces are customized based on their volume, melting temperature, and temperature control level. Li Zi ordered a large furnace that can reach 2,400 degrees Celsius with a temperature control accuracy of 50 degrees, meaning the temperature can be precisely maintained within 50 degrees of the target. It cost nearly 8 gold coins. Because of such a big order, the service staff at the Research Institute kept hinting that tonight they could give Li Zi a private demonstration of how to maintain the furnace. Li Zi had to hurriedly sign the contract under Felina's intense gaze, pay a deposit, and then rush away. It was already past 3 o'clock when Li Zi left the Mountain Metallurgical Institute. It seemed time was really running out. This made Li Zi feel a bit regretful. He couldn't take the time to enjoy exploring the first city filled with magical civilization he had seen in the wizarding world. He hurried with Felina to the Red Soul Machinery Group Gil branch. It was probably already 4 o'clock. The forging machines had simple functions, so the order was quickly placed. However, since Li Zi's factory needed to produce knight swords, arrows, knight armor, and also planned to make bicycle parts, the required machinery was quite complex. The branch staff prepared to show Li Zi the machinery display center, so he could choose the machine combinations himself. The staff led the two to the exhibition center. The large hall was empty and quiet, with over 20 different finished machines on display. Li Zi approached the first machine, which had cutting, milling, and grinding functions, perfect for forging knight swords. "President," suddenly, a staff member nearby spoke up, indicating someone had arrived again. "Yes, Pawa, there's a distinguished guest. Your visitors will have to leave for now. If they still want to buy machines, they can come back tomorrow," the president hurriedly explained, clearly having just received notice of the guest's arrival. Since the title suggested he was a leader from the military department in Gil City, Li Zi wondered what level of important guest needed him to clear the place himself. He glanced at his watch. Almost 5 p.m. Now he had to rush back to Gray Mist Mountain Town tonight. It was clear he didn't have enough time. If only he had finished his main tasks yesterday before going to the hotel. Li Zi sighed and was about to leave to find another way when a clear, strong female voice suddenly remembered. No need. I'll visit with them too, to make some friends. Outside the door, the afternoon sunlight spilled like broken gold, outlining the slender and upright figure of a girl. Her bright, delicate face caught the eye. Her porcelain white skin had a faint pink hue like cherry blossoms, as if kissed by sunlight. Her eyebrows were thin and curved like willow leaves, with the tips slightly raised, giving her a lively, unintentional look. Her almond-shaped eyes were like black obsidian in clear water, with tiny stars flickering in her pupils. When she looked at someone, there was a subtle curiosity and a hint of mischief. Her long, thick eyelashes fluttered gently with each blink, like small fans. Below her straight nose, her full, soft lips had a light coral color, with a faint but attractive smile at the corners. She had fluffy, soft pink hair cut short to cover her ears, with shiny strands and slightly curled tips, making her small, delicate face stand out even more. She wore matte black tight-fitting leather clothes that hugged her curves, made from a strange beast leather. The collar was edged with silver patterns, and a wide belt with a silver wolf head badge was around her waist. Over her shoulders, she draped a white fox fur coat, fluffy fur covering her shoulders, creating a striking contrast with her black outfit. On her left wrist, she wore a black beaded bracelet. Her right hand was slender with long fingers, and her nails were coated with clear nail polish. Overall, she looked like a rose blooming in darkness, bright and lively like a young girl, yet mysterious and distant like a wizard apprentice, making people want to get close but hesitant to touch. Felina leaned close to Li Zi's ear and whispered, "A mid-level wizard apprentice." Oh, while wizard apprentices aren't rare animals, they aren't common enough to be everywhere. Running into another mid-level apprentice was quite surprising. "Hello, I am Philin. I'm interested in these machines. If you don't mind, let's visit together." Philin smiled brightly, her cheerful words showing she cared more about her fellow mid-level apprentice, Felina. Felina obediently looked at Li Zi, clearly taking his opinion as the main decision. Seeing that they could stay to finish their shopping without worry about the machine tools, Li Zi nodded in agreement, indicating they could stay. Noticing the unusual relationship between the two girls, Philin curiously looked at Li Zi a few times, secretly guessing about their connection. Besides the machine tools I just saw, Li Zi also needs equipment for stamping, drilling, grinding, and bending. Because Philin was nearby, the president gave a detailed explanation of these machines this time. Li Zi listened eagerly. These machines seemed similar to the ones he used in his previous life, especially in their functions. However, their structures and principles were very different. A brilliant and strange magical civilization had created another beautiful form of machinery. Li Zi had basically decided on a combination of machine tools. But thinking about the failing federations, borrow a chicken to produce eggs, plan, it was clear they wouldn't just produce knights' swords and armor. He predicted that once the first batch of products was tested and proven, they would definitely ask Li Zi to continue producing standard firearms. Thinking of this, he asked the president, "President, do you think the machines we just saw can be used to make guns?" The few people present looked at him in unison. Philin, curious, asked, "Are you planning to build a weapons factory?" Felina looked thoughtful, and Li Zi smiled vaguely. "Yes, maybe our family will get some military orders. You know, military orders are increasing, and the current factories are too busy." Philin looked at Li Zi again, as if trying to remember this young man. She quickly nodded and answered on behalf of the president. "The machines here are not suitable. They are only medium precision. Making gun barrels requires deep drilling, rifling, and fine grinding, which need high-precision machines to meet the standards. I'm also curious. Usually, the city branch of the machinery group should have high-precision equipment. President, why don't you have any here?" The president hesitated for a moment and replied softly. "Viscount Wiseman of the current era restricts high-precision machines from entering Gelly City to prevent the spread of dangerous items like guns." Li Zi initially thought that if such machines were available, he might as well buy them all at once. Hearing this, he felt a bit disappointed. He frowned slightly, thinking that buying these machines might require going even further away. The president seemed powerless to help. Philin, who initially didn't want to get involved, looked at Lee Size's disappointed expression and suddenly changed her mind. Leave your contact information. When I return to the academy, I will arrange for someone to contact you about purchasing the lathes. Li Zi was very happy. Seeing the director's nervousness, he realized her status must be quite high, and he understood the Red Soul Mechanical Group well. With her help, there should be no problem. He left his contact information with Felina and himself. After some thought, he decided to ask for her contact details so he could thank her later if possible. Felina was indifferent. Although she thought they might not meet again, she didn't show any awkwardness and kindly left her address. Lanwei Alchemy Academy in Lanwei Province. Li Zi was surprised. This was a famous university for advanced mages in the duchy, and she was still a student. Later, Li Zi and Felina politely thanked the director and said goodbye, then went with staff to sign the purchase contract and pay the deposit. By then, his father had already gathered blacksmith apprentices, and land approval was soon to come through. The equipment needed for the factory had been ordered, so the orders for the academy's tools and the duchy's weapons could soon start production. However, he still needed to remind Rains to pay for the goods from fading. As for the production of the little wizard donkey and the 3 bouncing creatures, it was safer to wait until the rights for the invention were approved. The loot from the last mission to capture Rains should also have been processed, and Swen would pass it to Golia through his police contacts. After returning to Grey Mist Mountain Town with Felina, they probably needed to find Golia. The equipment purchase in Gold City had greatly exceeded the budget, almost forcing Felina to lend him gold coins. He didn't want to use them, as they were meant for mailing to that high-level necromancer apprentice. After finishing everything and leaving the branch, the Silver Moon drove away the weekday. The streets of Gold City gradually lit up with colorful neon lights, starting the lively city nightlife. Romantic women and couples could be seen everywhere, showing that the citizens of Gold City were quite happy. Li Zi and Felina decided to drive the mage box directly back to Grey Mist Mountain. They also planned to meet Golia to distribute the loot. In the future, they might come back to enjoy Gold City's nightlife. Anyway, the round trip would only take a little over 1 hour of magic time. Returning to Grey Mist Mountain Town, although it was already dark, despite the heavy snow, the streets at night were quite clear. The two of them arrived at the police station and met Vice Director Golia, who was about to leave. Suddenly stopping in front of the pink wizard box, she felt suspicious. Seeing that it was Li Si's and Felina getting out, she raised an eyebrow. Do you two need something? Her tone hinted at lingering resentment towards Felina, the first person to commit a crime in front of her since she became vice director and still remained free. Li Si stepped forward, smiling awkwardly. Just came to pick up the loot from the last mission for Vice Director Golia. Golia grumbled fiercely. I'm already annoyed about working on my day off, and now I'm off duty. You came to see me about this? Li Si's explained helplessly. Because of the Academy's orders and missions, we've spent almost all our gold on land and equipment these past few days. We also need to pay the final installment tomorrow, so we're really out of options. Golia looked at Li Si's and Felina in surprise. I didn't expect you to be so efficient. Your factory can produce what kind of weapons? The police station might buy from you too. You promised to give me a factory price. She then turned back into the police station, took out the gold coins from the safe, and handed them to the two. 7 gold coins and 20 silver each, totaling 14 gold coins and 40 silver. They chatted at the police station for a while longer. Hearing that Li Si's bought 2 empty plots east of the academy, they marveled at his big investment. Li Si's also learned from Golia some news about the outside world that he didn't know. He heard that the Fighting Flying Squadron has been crossing borders for reconnaissance more and more often, but the kingdom only condemns it without strong retaliation. Prices for basic supplies are rising, and the kingdom police headquarters has ordered local police stations to stay alert for possible unrest. Having just experienced the prosperity and lively atmosphere of Geli City, hearing Golia's inside information revealed a different scene. Li Si's kept this in mind. After their chat, Li Si's and the others said goodbye to Golia and returned to the academy. Felina apartment. The sound of water rushing came from the bathroom, and through the semi-transparent glass partition, a graceful figure was faintly visible. Li Si's was looking at the design drawings of the Little Witch Donkey and the energy storage and power core modules on Felina's desk. These symbols are basic knowledge. Li Si's roughly understood them. He could vaguely tell that when these runes are combined, they have the ability to absorb, transform, store, and output energy. Read the design diagram of the miniature energy gathering witchcraft array, wind, comma. It costs 200 energy points to analyze, currently unavailable. Li Si's frowned. The value of supernatural abilities in the pay-to-win system has its own rules. He hasn't mastered these rules yet, but just by looking, he knew that analyzing this weak-looking miniature array design would cost 200 energy points. Compared to the previous basic-level witchcraft, Wizard's Hand, which was 4 times cheaper, this would use up 0.1 of his mental energy. Clearly, in pay-to-win, knowledge of witchcraft is more valuable than attributes. But then again, for gold coins could directly analyze a witchcraft array into a skill, which doesn't seem too expensive. However, he's not yet a wizard apprentice, so all this is just an illusion. He must become a wizard apprentice quickly. Whoosh! Suddenly, the water in the bathroom stopped. Li Si's turned to look and froze in place. Golia? What's going on? Wasn't it Felina just now? Why is it Golia, who had just parted from inside, walking out now? Did the two girls secretly plan this prank? She was dressed in a tight-fitting, bright red uniform. The fabric was as vibrant as dawn, yet soft, outlining her slender, graceful curves. Her long, straight legs were covered in thin, pink stockings as delicate as cicada wings, revealing a faint sheen of smooth skin, as resilient as a freshly emerged lotus stem. Her cheeks had a light blush, fresh like morning dew on lotus petals after rain. Her skin was fair and moist, as if a gentle touch would make water droplets appear. Her clear, spring-like eyes beneath willow-shaped eyebrows held gentle warmth, and her lips, like a blooming lotus bud, had a natural, moist hue. Her overall aura was pure and gentle, like a water lily emerging from the water, both shy and charming, with a fresh, untainted feeling that made people forget the mundane. She gazed at Li Si's with tender affection. Li Si swallowed hard and nervously asked, "Godatlia, what are you doing? Where is Felina?" Julia stepped forward, hooking her left arm around Li Si's neck and lifting his chin with her right hand. "Li Si, I hereby arrest you." That voice clearly belonged to Felina. She suddenly pushed Li Si onto the sofa and then threw herself onto him. Do you like this, Li Si?" Although confused about what was happening, Li Si was sure this was Felina. He felt a mix of disappointment and excitement, and he thought it was a bit silly to feel that way. Not noticing Li Si's thoughts, Felina asked casually, "Darling, do you like it?" This is a secondary illusion spell, a type of illusion magic that uses light and shadow to make a familiar person appear. Li Si looked closely at the Julia in front of him. It was so realistic that he couldn't tell real from fake. He touched her face and realized something was wrong. This illusion magic could only deceive the eyes, but feeling her skin told him it wasn't real. He felt a little excited but whispered, "Maybe this isn't the best idea." Noticing Li Si's reaction, Felina teased, "Darling, do you have feelings for Julia? Your body is very honest. I can satisfy you like this, but you have to promise me something." Li Si's breathing grew heavier as he asked in a rough voice, "What is the condition?" Felina's eyes sparkled with tears as she whispered, "I know you might have other women in the future, but we just got together, and I want a special memory that belongs only to me. So, for the next 6 months, you can't be too close to Julia." And if, her face blushed with embarrassment, and she turned away, whispering softly, "If you think about her, I can be like this. Consider yourself lucky." Li Si was touched by her words. With such a lovely partner, what more could he ask for? He leaned down and kissed her gently, softly wiping away the tears in her eyes. However, in a strange sense of excitement, it did not cause Felina to cancel the secondary illusory shape technique. The apartment gradually filled with soft murmurs. The next day, Li Si's arranged to meet Felina and Golia to plan to clear the open space where the warehouse was to be built. Li Si's looked at Golia, feeling a slight awkwardness. When Felina saw his expression, she teased him. Although the police had not yet cleared the area, it was originally a mining site. The old brick wall was still mostly intact, so there was no worry about undead monsters wandering out. Buildings in the wizarding world are constructed with special materials, making them generally stronger and more durable than those on Blue Star. If it were an old mining area on Blue Star, the wall would have collapsed long ago. From afar, beyond the wall, Felina sensed a strong presence of undead energy particles and warned Lyses and Golia. There are still quite a few undead creatures inside. Be careful later. Outside the wall, Felina looked at Lyses and advised, "Don't try to be brave. You're not yet a wizard apprentice." Attacks from undead creatures carry a deathly aura that can slowly erode living beings until they die. Fortunately, these undead are low level. They haven't surpassed the night level yet. If you get hit, immediately use purifying water to wash the wound and neutralize the undead energy. A night level is defined by having at least one attribute, strength, stamina, or agility, above 3.0. These undead creatures are below night level, with attributes roughly between 2.0 and 3.0. Golia frowned, feeling Felina's concern was a bit unusual. She looked suspiciously at both of them, unsure of their relationship. She carefully examined Lyses, thinking to herself, could this guy have already won Felina's heart? The rusty iron gate of the old mining site was right in front of them. Golia's left hand flashed with a golden revolver flame. With a loud bang, the old lock on the gate shattered, and the force of the bullet pushed the right gate open inward. Clack, clack. The sound of joint bones turning echoed as 5 undead skeletons turned their heads toward the gate. Their eye sockets glowed with ghostly blue flames, and they swung rusty iron hose as they charged at the group. Golia first recited a spell, casting enhanced resistance on herself and Lyses. Honestly, with this magic, skeletons below night level are almost impossible to break through. Then, she fired her golden revolver non-stop, shooting at one skeleton while her right hand wielded a short sword to attack another. Lyses finally realized that Golia was a close combat specialist wizard. He found it strange that Professor Felina, who teaches night combat skills, specializes in necromancy, while the deputy police chief is a violent person. Felina summoned a skeleton warrior from another space to fight one skeleton, while she used both hands to cast the fire arrow spell to attack another. Although she is skilled in necromancy, the best way to deal with undead creatures is still positive energy magic. Lyses held a silver lightning bolt borrowed from the police station in his left hand, continuously shooting at the skeleton's head. Unfortunately, his shooting skills are still basic. With only a 70% accuracy, hitting the soul fire in the eye socket was a dream. However, his pay-to-win talent kept giving feedback, increasing his shooting proficiency by 1, 2, so he didn't give up practicing. His right hand held a knight's sword, blocking the skeleton's attacks. After about 10 hits, Lyses activated a knight's secret technique he had just learned from analysis a few days ago, counterattack. A surge of great force traveled from his leg to his knight's sword, and the sudden power shattered the skeleton's skull into pieces. At this moment, Golia and Felina also defeated a few other skeletons, but the skeleton warrior did not break the skull of the one it fought. Instead, it held it tightly. Seeing Lyses and Golia's confused expressions, she explained, corpses and skeletons created in the material world are the best source of soldiers for us necromancer wizards. With just a small amount of magic, we can form a contract that lasts a lifetime without further effort. However, compared to undead summoned from other worlds, carrying them is less convenient. She pointed at the faintly wandering undead creatures nearby and said, there are quite a few undead here. Killing each one takes time and effort, so it's better to capture them like this and contract with me. This saves time and effort, and the speed will only get faster. On the other hand, it was indeed a pity to kill them. Later, when a factory and warehouse are built here, these undead creatures can serve as defense forces. After all, I am the security advisor for the factory. Lyses and Golia exchanged glances, both looking at Felina with envy, feeling eager to learn necromancer magic. Felina continued, moreover, the energy particles of the necromancer here are unusually active. Later, we can set up some magic arrays. These undead creatures inside the arrays have a chance to advance to night level over time. This means the future security guards of the factory will all be night level. Lyses was very excited. Necromancer magic is so unfair. Why not just fight with necromancer wizards? They never get tired. Felina shook her head patiently and explained, "That's not quite right. The Duchy and the Federation of Fading have strict restrictions on necromancer wizards. It's not easy to obtain undead soldiers. We just happened to find this place. Also, although summoning undead creatures in the material world consumes very little magic and mental energy, there is a limit. It's impossible to ignore levels and summon endlessly. Most importantly, undead creatures can only accept a small amount of negative energy magic, making it very difficult to increase their strength. Humans and other creatures, however, can receive large amounts of supportive magic and potions to boost their power. Lyses found these valuable wizard knowledge very useful, and Golia gained a deeper understanding of necromancer magic. They agreed to follow Felina's plan. They saw a skeleton warrior tightly holding a necromancer skeleton. Felina recited the spell, Summon Skeleton, activating a strange energy beam formed from necromancer energy particles in the void and her own mental power, which entered the skeleton's eye sockets and connected to its soul fire. After a moment, the skeleton gave up resistance and became Felina's undead servant. Next, they captured more undead. The first 1 or 2 contracts were slow, but once Felina gathered about a dozen skeletons, she would see a skeleton and all of them would swarm forward, pressing it to the ground. Then Felina would perform the contract spell. Later, they didn't need to move at all. Felina's dozens of skeletons dispersed, returning one after another. This battle method left Lyses and Golia stunned. Unfortunately, the paid analysis cannot be as easily understood as the Knight's secret techniques. These spells involve combining symbols and require prior knowledge of related disciplines. They cannot be understood after just one reading. Therefore, a teaching scroll containing the necessary knowledge is needed as a foundation to quickly learn and master these skills using paid resources. By around 9 p.m., all the undead creatures outside the mining area had been enslaved by Farina, 218 skeletons in total. This is a powerful force. If all of them were promoted to knight level, they could even level the small town. Now, only an abandoned mine remains. The 2 women ask Lyses whether to attack now or rest for a day. Lyses thinks it over and decides that since they are here, they might as well finish it all at once. The dark, deep entrance to the cave looks like a monster opening its black mouth, waiting to swallow anyone who enters. Before entering the cave, Farina stops Golia and Lyses and says seriously, "Be careful. There are many undead creatures here, probably at night level. Based on the humidity and the foul smell, I think they are zombie monsters. Zombie monsters have a toughness above 3.0, strong hit resistance, and nearly 3 in strength. Their agility is lower, but they can release plague toxins and corpse poisons around them. You 2 are melee fighters, which might make fighting difficult. Let's have my skeletons go in first to pull them out." Lyses is fine, but Golia feels a bit awkward. She thinks to herself, "I'm a deputy director of the police, here to help, but I've been just standing around the whole time." Feeling embarrassed. Fortunately, there are only 36 zombies in the mine. It took nearly an hour for the 3 of them to capture and contract them, and 12 weaker skeleton soldiers were destroyed when their soul fires were shattered. After confirming there are no zombies left inside, Golia and Farina keep throwing a few cleansing spells into the cave. Once they test the air and find no toxins remaining, the 3 of them slowly enter the mine. After exploring, they confirm it is indeed an abandoned mine, with no large deposits of minerals left as they had imagined. The Grey Mist Mountain government couldn't be so incompetent. They had already confirmed the mineral extraction was exhausted before listing the mine. The mine tunnel was reinforced with magic, making the structure quite stable. The underground space was very large, estimated to be nearly 30,000 square meters, which was a great piece of land to have. "Be careful," Felina suddenly shouted, sensing something unusual. Unfortunately, it was too late. Ripples spread through the air like water, and a semi-transparent ghost suddenly appeared from the side wall of the pit, rushing into Lyses' body. Lyses immediately felt faint and became confused. Fortunately, Felina quickly took out a bag of purified water and poured it over Lyses. A faint black smoke rose, and the ghost howled in pain as it was expelled from Lyses' body. Lyses, who had just regained consciousness, felt as if icy water had been poured over him. His whole body was cold. The purified water slowly seeped into his body, and warmth gradually began to flow through him. Lyses felt frustrated. This was the second time a ghost had attacked him. What kind of body does he have? Moreover, the Land Bureau chief, Slava, had warned about spirits, but he hadn't seen any before and thought it was false information. Now he was possessed by a ghost, which was trying to devour his soul. Luckily, Felina saved him just in time. The ghost roared in the void toward the three of them. But now, two of them carried frightening energy, and even the purified water on the third person, who was an ordinary person, could harm the ghost. Feeling instinctively, the ghost wanted to escape. Felina quickly took out 2 rolls of beast tendons from her bag and mixed them into the purified water. She cast a spell to control the tendons, forming a golden glowing cage that trapped the ghost, preventing it from escaping. Then she used spirit communication magic to try to make a contract with the ghost. The ghost inside the cage resisted fiercely, even smashing against the cage filled with purified water, trying to break free. But its power was too weak to escape. Lyses helped by pouring more purified water into the cage to strengthen it. Felina's pale face grew even whiter, sweat dripping heavily as if she was exhausted. After a moment of stalemate, Felina finally let out a relieved breath, and the ghost was successfully contracted. Lucky me. With Felina's explanation, Lyses and the others learned that this ghost had once been driven by a very strong obsession. This kind of obsessed ghost usually cannot be contracted by undead-type mages. However, nothing is absolute. Some undead mages have studied deeply and found that if they can resolve the ghost's obsession, they can successfully contract with the obsessed ghost. Moreover, this type of obsessed ghost has a stronger potential for growth compared to ordinary ghosts and can grow along with the mage. If the obsession is not resolved quickly, it can cause backlash against the undead mage, which may take a long time to heal. Through communication magic, Felina learned that the ghost's obsession was actually to kill Police Chief Wilson. Yes, Wilson was the same person who died during the previous mission involving Lees and others. That's why Felina said she was very lucky, because the obsessed ghost's obsession was confirmed through a special soul contract in communication magic, allowing the contract to succeed. During the contract, Felina also learned the reason behind the ghost's obsession. The ghost was Bobby, the younger brother of the original mine owner. His brother was murdered about 6 years ago after discovering secrets of the Visman noble family. The Visman family secretly ordered Wilson to kill Bobby's entire family in an abandoned mine area. Wilson personally strangled Bobby to death. Lees also remembered a tragic incident from 6 years ago, when Bobby's family was wiped out by a ghostly monster that appeared in the Gray Mist Mountain town. Golia, hearing Felina talk about Wilson killing Bobby's family, was so angry that she raised her knight's sword and struck the wall, causing stones to fly. Damn corrupt cop Wilson, and that bastard Visman noble, who cruelly murdered his own people over some secret. When she mentioned the secret, Golia blinked and looked at Lees and Felina. The stories they told earlier made her think of something bad. She widened her eyes and trembled as she asked, "No way. What kind of secret would require killing?" Reese ordered Felina to kill because of espionage and treason. As for the Visman noble, his cruel actions also raised suspicion. No matter what, this secret must involve some serious evil. Lees thought even more and was pretty sure of his guess. He originally found it suspicious that Reese, who arrived in Goal, could locate Wilson and Felina, people who were very likely to have joined the enemy spy organization, just within a month. It clearly shows that he has extremely powerful intelligence resources within the Crimson Soul Kingdom. After successfully capturing Reese, Liz asked Swin about the situation. The answer was that Reese's intelligence came entirely from within the Federation of Fading. Clearly, the undercover agent organization wanted to avoid exposing their sources by capturing one person, which could lead to a chain reaction of information leaks. They kept the source of information separate from Reese, transferring messages through the Federation of Fading instead of letting Reese contact the source directly. What does this mean? Liz understood that the source of the information was a high-ranking official in the Crimson Soul Kingdom. This person's identity and importance were more significant than Reese's, and they could not be easily exposed. At this moment, combining the information Felina received from Bobby the Ghost, Liz guessed that the mayor of Gelly City, the contemporary Viscount Westman, was that source. He had betrayed the Crimson Soul Kingdom at least 7 or 8 years ago. Giulia and Felina listened quietly to Liz's analysis. They also thought this possibility was very likely. They hadn't expected the situation to be so serious. Viscount Westman has betrayed the country. Although all three of them instinctively believed this was the truth, it was still hard to accept. Westman was a powerful noble, and Julia, as the deputy police chief, felt very uneasy and couldn't believe it. But Liz knew that verifying this wasn't very difficult. Just like a witch's magic leaves energy traces, everything that happens in the world also leaves signs. As a landowner, he only needed to review Westman's policies over the years. Liz believed that Westman's policies before and after the betrayal would show subtle differences, revealing the truth. Others couldn't see this because they never thought he would betray the country. Based on this assumption, many things that seemed illogical suddenly made sense. After a moment, Julius said, 10 years ago, Viscount Westman suddenly increased the military budget for the explosive flame army year after year. 9 years ago, under the guise of regional transportation development, he built many roads into worthless border areas. Julius sighed. This is really frightening. What could be the reason? Why did he betray the kingdom? Is the kingdom not good enough? Liz shook his head. These reasons, apart from Westman himself, are probably impossible for others to know. Felina was thinking about something else. If we report to the Internal Affairs Department, wouldn't that be a great achievement? It seemed Felina valued her position in the Internal Affairs Department. But this approach wouldn't work. We have no proof. If we report randomly, we might end up like Bobby's family. Hearing this, Felina considered how to gather evidence to accomplish this important task. Golia then expressed her worries. Oh, is Gung City still part of the duchy? How many people are connected to Viscount Wiseman? My boss, the town mayor of Grey Mist Mountain, Brother Swen. Oh my, who can I trust now? Liz also took a deep breath and said, from Bobby's information, Wilson is clearly just a pawn of Viscount Wiseman. He was recommended to Reese, maybe also arranged by the Federation's lurkers to monitor Reese. By the way, how was Wilson's death reported? Surely it didn't mention Reese or us? Felina thought for a moment. My senior brother advised me to keep things secret, forbidding anyone involved with Reese from being mentioned. I made up a false charge because I had a grudge against Wilson. Now, many police officers mistakenly think I was behind it. Luckily, the gunmen at that time were my trusted aides, and no one knew or saw Reese. Liz pondered for a moment and solemnly said, then you should keep your trusted aides' secrets well. No matter what, Reese is still useful. We should try to protect him, which is also good for us. After a pause, Liz continued, Golia, you can tell Swen about our guesses. At least he should be trustworthy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have helped us plan to catch Reese or given you advice. Maybe he has some awareness now. So many things make sense. Regarding Felina's suggestion, Liz said, this matter depends on fate. On one hand, he will eventually be exposed. Perhaps even before we find proof, he might reveal himself. On the other hand, this shows the situation is very corrupt. We need to work harder to improve our strength so we can protect ourselves in this chaos. When mentioning this, Lizzie suddenly remembered the young girl Firen they met by chance in Gelly City. At that time, the questioning about why Gelly City lacked high-precision lathes seemed somewhat targeted. Also, he wasn't sure if she would help him connect with suppliers for high-grade lathes. Golia heard Lizzie and Felina's conversation and was momentarily stunned. Then she looked at both of them seriously and said, let's form an alliance. To face the coming difficult times, I think you need my help, and I also need some trustworthy allies. Lizzie smiled and shook her hand, feeling the cool, smooth touch. We've been allies for a long time, haven't we? Night had fallen deeply. After a brief discussion about the next plans, Golia agreed to help Lizzie commission a construction team to renovate and reinforce the 2 empty plots of land, adding some buildings as Lizzie requested. With enough gold coins and magical tools, it should be finished in about 10 days. By then, the equipment Lizzie ordered would mostly be available. He also asked Felina, who kept in touch with Reese, to urge the order and payment for the equipment from fading. It was already late when they returned to the academy, but Felina, deeply in love, still insisted that Lizzie go back to her apartment. She no longer cared if other mentors or students saw them. Lizzie felt his body growing weaker. The next noon, Lizzie couldn't hold back and went to the library to look up information on potions for strengthening the body and boosting vitality. He found a relevant potion called Energizer in a book titled Secrets of Rejuvenation, and noticed some familiar notes on it. He realized they were Snape's notes. Li Zi suddenly remembered seeing Snape in a panic in the laboratory. So, that guy was brewing an energizing potion. He wondered which lady was so bold. However, the Energizer only prolongs the function of certain organs and requires repeated use. It can't solve Li Zi's fundamental problem and might have side effects. After reviewing related information, he concluded that strengthening his own physical health was the real solution. A happy week passed quickly. Thanks to Li Zi and Felina's urging, Reese finally sent the first batch of payment, 200 gold coins. Fading Federation placed a one-time order for 10,000 military knight swords, which are of higher quality than those required by the Academy. These swords must withstand intense battlefield combat and frequent clashes, with a cost of 2 silver coins each. Due to a secret deal, Fading offered a high price of 3.5 silver coins per sword to encourage Liss, a traitor, in hopes of forming a close bond with him. Additionally, Fading paid a 5-year management fee of 1.5 silver coins, totaling 5 silver coins per sword. They also paid half of the total payment up front, 100 gold coins, showing generosity. Liss became quite wealthy from this. He discussed with Felina and decided to give her 20 gold coins so she could quickly send them to a high-level necromancer apprentice, ensuring her sister receives treatment soon. The necromancer expert who received the previous 20 gold coins responded that if Felina could pay 100 gold coins within a year and add another 50 gold coins, he has a batch of rare materials that could speed up organ transplantation and add a small amount of half-elf blood to her sister's heart. Liss quickly agreed with Felina and signed a new organ transplant contract. This moved Felina deeply, and she insisted on returning to the apartment with Liss in the middle of the day. However, the products involved are not considered high-end, and they are not very important to the corporate nation. According to the rules, they can probably get 20 years of protection rights. But since they are all part of the education system, the senior members confidently said they would try to secure 30 years of protection rights. Not important to the corporate nation? Felina shook her head inwardly. Li Zi had already described to her the great use of the 3-wheeled vehicle in military applications. Moreover, in the invention documents Felina submitted, the power core modules of the little wizard donkey and the 3 bouncers can reach speeds from 40 km per hour up to 250 km per hour. Just inspired by Li Zi's, Felina thought, if every soldier had a little wizard donkey, how mobile would they be? But of course, she wouldn't foolishly argue about it. It's better if others think it's not important. Quietly securing the knowledge rights certification would be perfect. Meanwhile, Li Zi was comfortably lying in bed, resting and gathering strength. He waved his hand and converted all 80 gold coins into energy points, earning a total of 4,000 points. Feeling rich like this was simply amazing. So what are you hesitating for? Spend it. Consume 200 energy points. Mental power 0.1, current mental power 2.0, consume 200 energy points. Mental power 0.1, current mental power 2.1. Swish, swish, swish. Li Zi's mental power soared to 3.0, with 1,800 energy points remaining. At this moment, the catching system prompted, to further increase mental power, each 0.1 point now requires 400 energy points. The entry ticket to the wizard world has been obtained, but the meditation method is still nowhere to be seen. Right now, pushing mental power further seems a bit unwise. He thought for a moment and started considering boosting other attributes. Lately, being entangled with Felina had made him suffer enough from having the lowest physical and strength stats. Poor physical condition made him feel drained after every event. Weak strength meant he was always easily overpowered and pressed down by Felina. Between the two, physical condition was more important. Without hesitation, Li Zi spent 1,600 energy points to boost his weakest attribute, physical, raising it from a pitiful 1.4 straight up to 3.0. This was the second attribute he had reached night level in. His body's recovery ability and resistance to various abnormal states were pushed to the limit almost instantly. If he encounters a low-level ghost like Little Bobby again, trying to possess him, there's no chance. He just wonders, does that special state count as an abnormal condition? Could it also increase his sensitive points? Sneaky smile. Li Zi now feels full of energy, as if he could fight Felina for 3 days and nights without stopping. He also wants to boost his strength to 3.0 to restore his family's honor, but unfortunately, his wallet, energy points, is already empty. Sigh, spending money for fun is great for a while, but spending endlessly is even better. Sadly, with energy points running low, Lee Sais deeply feels the malice behind the so-called pay-to-win system. Spending money to earn more, spending money to grow stronger, both are what he dreams of bringing home. It's truly a wise saying. But the rapid increase in physical fitness at least made Lee Sais completely forget about feeling weak. He jumped out of bed with a quick flip like a carp, rushing toward the teaching area. After school, he still had to go to the police station and contact Captain Swan in Gelly City through a special line. He feels like he's running out of time and doesn't even want to attend classes anymore. Actually, he had long realized that these basic skills could be fully handled with the pay-to-win supernatural ability. Just spend 1 to 10 energy points to analyze and record knowledge into his memory sector, and with his soul talent, the effect is exactly the same as if he learned it himself. This pay-to-win system is really bad for learning. In the past, the auxiliary chip Mysterious was a diligent partner, helping with memory assistance and knowledge transfer. Just need to recharge. Unlike now, where they're so greedy for money. He doesn't know who he learned this pay-to-win system from, but they're so greedy? Could it be Golia? Suspicious face. Before, he was really too poor to even gather enough energy points to exchange for mental strength, so he had no extra resources for this. Now that he's gradually more comfortable, this has become especially necessary. Lee Sais needs more time, not just to save a few energy points. He plans to discuss this with Felina tonight. She's the only one who can support him as his mentor. So, today, Lee Sais still obediently finished his classes at the academy. When communicating with Captain Swin, Liz eagerly shared all the intelligence about Reese that he obtained through Felina. This included the fact that Reese, with support from the Federation intelligence, successfully developed 5 new spies. These spies are all carefully selected talents from the Federation Intelligence Center. Their situation is similar to Felina and Wilson from before. Basically, they are easily persuaded and turned without much effort. However, Liz and Felina have already warned Reese that among these 5, there might be spies planted by the Federation to monitor him. Reese plans to assign only Federation tasks to these 5 people. What about these unlucky 5? They will always believe they are undercover agents sent by the Federation to stay hidden in the city of Red Soul. Reese's true core strength actually comes from his own trusted allies recommended by Swen. And the actions of these 5 moles are already under strict surveillance by the Internal Affairs Department. As for the so-called missions they complete, they are probably carefully scripted by the Internal Affairs team. Wow, this is like a clever spy movie. Discovering the enemy's spy identity and reporting it is a long-term task for the organization, and it earns a lot of merit points. Each spy's identity is worth 10 merit points. Reese gets 4 points, and you and Felina each get 3. Swin's voice came through. Golia was nearby, maintaining a special communication node used only by the police. This first-level communication node can enable real-time communication across the entire city of Songla, but it requires a human battery apprentice or higher to operate. Liz is not yet a wizard apprentice, so he asked Golia kindly for help. A 0-level node, which is a town-level communication point, can only cover real-time communication within the town. So, if townspeople want to contact friends in the city, is there no way? Of course not. The answer is 4 words. Pay more. Wait. Pay more. Understandable, as cross-region communication requires extra fees. Waiting means the information can only be passed along like a relay baton, step by step. The town-level node first sends the message to the town's communication center, which then forwards it through a specific first-level node to the recipient's designated first-level node. Alternatively, using the same method, continue to send the message to higher-level nodes. Each level of the communication center delays real-time conversation by 1 magic hour, and it's impossible to know in advance if the other side has received the message on time. Most importantly, messages sent through the communication center must pass through others. Although the Red Soul Public Nations Intelligence Department's subordinate, the Red Soul Communications Bureau, promises to protect privacy and never leak information, there is always a risk of leaks. Therefore, lessees can only choose a first-level encrypted communication node within the police station and can only ask Golia for help. Because of Reese, Golia also signed a confidentiality agreement and is considered an external member. However, since she was not deeply involved in the counter-espionage plan, she cannot enjoy the subsequent mission rewards. Lee Sees was very satisfied with this mission reward because it meant he could now meet the requirements for the basic meditation method he had been longing for. However, he had a question about the merit reward and asked Swen, "Why is the reward for the spy's identity information so high? I feel that the borrow a chicken to hatch an egg mission is even harder. So why does it only give 2 merit points?" Swen explained, "The organization has strict standards for merit rewards, and they are quite fair. Also, your borrow a chicken to hatch an egg is a long-term task. The merit points are awarded gradually as the task progresses. The 2 merit points you received earlier were for the first phase. As you make further progress, the organization will evaluate and give you reasonable merit rewards. From my assessment, the biggest merit feedback for your borrow a chicken to hatch an egg task will come when you completely destroy the Federation's original layout during the final handover, which could account for half of the total merit. Otherwise, the organization considers your task to always carry a risk of revealing enemies." This explanation gained Lee Se's approval, and he also agreed with Swen's fair evaluation. Although his main goal for the borrow a chicken to hatch an egg task was to earn more gold coins, gaining more merit could help him obtain special merit rewards from internal sources. Why not? Golia handed him the merit exchange manual, employee level, when she handed over the spoils from the last battle. The exchange list inside had long made him envious. According to the manual, it is updated every quarter, and new props are added or removed from time to time. Swen's words made Liz more interested in the borrow a chicken to hatch eggs plan. He reported the latest progress to Swen. The factory has been rebuilt, and the equipment will arrive soon. In 1 to 2 days, production can start. Currently, the Federation has already ordered 10,000 knight swords. Upon hearing this, Swen awarded Liz 2 points of merit based on the organization's achievement standards. This brought Liz's total merit points to 30. He has saved enough 20 merit points for the basic meditation method, and he still needs 20 more to reach 50 points, which is required to become a full member. It seems he will soon become a full employee. At that point, he can legally own firearms, which will save him many troubles. After calculating his merit points, Liz applied to Swen to exchange for the basic meditation method. Swen, who didn't know Liz well, didn't suspect anything. Golia was slightly surprised. The previous data showed that this young man's mental strength was below the standard. How did he suddenly exchange for the basic meditation method? From Liz's involvement in the murder plot, the counter-espionage plan, to the recent large land purchase and factory construction, these events are enough to make an ordinary person proud for a lifetime. All of this happened in less than a month. Plus, some information recently unintentionally revealed by Felina made Golia more curious about Liz. After ending the call, Golia still found it unbelievable. She looked at Liz and couldn't help but ask, "Did your mental strength really meet the standard?" Liz thought for a moment. The secret of paying with money definitely couldn't be revealed. He guessed cautiously and said, "Since the ghost attack last time, Felina told me that the ghost might have been absorbed and fused by me. Since then, I feel like I've awakened some incredible talent. Recently, my mental strength and physical fitness have been growing rapidly." Golia didn't ask further, understanding that this was Liz's secret. In countless legends of the wizarding world, there are many stories of protagonists growing quickly after specific events. Liz's situation is not very unusual. Moreover, he is still just an apprentice wizard. He might not become a full wizard later and will remain an ordinary person. Becoming a wizard from an apprentice is the true step of evolving from an ordinary person to a higher-level human being. This is the most important step. However, very few apprentices succeed in this step. Talent, luck, and resources are all essential. Undoubtedly, the stronger the talent and strength of Liz as an ally, the more beneficial it is for their small team. Knowing that Liz is about to start her journey as a wizard, she sincerely offers her best wishes and shares some advice based on her experience. Finally, she brings up another matter. The police station's outdoor missions are increasing, and I worry about my brothers. Feline told me you are good at making low-grade attribute potions, basic defense potions, and healing powders. I want to buy from you, hoping you can give me a price lower than the store. As far as I know, these potions usually cost 1 to 2 silver coins. I can pay you 50% of the cost. How does that sound? Liz looked at Golia with surprise and curiosity, raising an eyebrow. No wonder you seem so greedy. It turns out your money is spent on these things. You don't buy your subordinates weapons too, do you? Golia felt a bit embarrassed and no longer acted like her usual carefree big sister. She said sadly, I've only been in charge for 2 years, and 5 of my brothers have already died on outdoor missions. One of them didn't even have his body recovered. He was swallowed by monsters. I feel like I haven't done enough. Liz was moved by Golia's sense of justice and kindness. She didn't expect this fierce melee witch to have such a soft heart. She pondered, as an ally, I will help you craft potions as much as I can. No need to talk about payment. But my free time is getting less and less. If I can't meet the demand, don't blame me. Golia was touched, but shook her head. This isn't right. Maybe you don't understand, but 50% of the cost isn't a high price for an alchemist. Because skilled alchemists are rare, and potion success rates are uncertain. These special potions in stores often sell at 100% or even 200% of their cost. Golia finished speaking, and Liz smiled as she explained, We are allies, not doing business. And you can see that I am currently working on large orders, which do not rely on making money from potion crafting. Before Jalea could speak again, I interrupted her and said, Moreover, crafting potions helps me quickly gain experience in potion making. Besides, this is also my way of contributing to the police brothers. You are willing to spend your own money for your brothers, and I am just not taking any payment. Compared to you, I still have a long way to go. However, I have been busy lately. If you want to craft potions, it's better to buy the raw materials directly for me. This saves my time, so I don't have to spend time sourcing materials. If I need to craft a large amount over a long period, I would need a lot of raw materials. These are not available in Gray Mist Mountain Town, and I might have to go all the way to the plantation in Gyo City. I don't want to waste that time. When Lee Sais praised Jalea, she blushed slightly and sighed. With your words, I can only thank you on behalf of my brothers. I will honestly tell them about the help you've given us. After saying that, Jalea returned to her confident and capable deputy director role, formally saluting Lee Sais on behalf of the police brothers. Both Swin and Jalea are very efficient. Early the next morning, before classes started, Porrisman rode his bike to deliver a large box of raw materials and a password box to the academy. Seeing Porrisman sweaty and carefully worried about falling, Lee Sais was even more convinced that his upcoming small wizard donkey and tricycle would be very popular. Since his dorm was not convenient for storing all these things, Lee Sais arranged for Porrisman to temporarily move everything to Felina's apartment. After the factory is completed in 2 days, he can move it across the lake to his own apartment. He first threw the herbs aside and used the password he learned from Swin to open the safe. Inside was a thick book titled Basic Meditation Method. Lee Sais quickly flipped through the book. Actually, his gold-boosting, supernatural ability had already activated. Consume 50 energy points to analyze. Basic Meditation Method. Although 50 energy points are expensive, Lee Sais knew his true talent was quite poor. It might take a long time to truly learn and turn this skill into a power. Now that his mental strength met the requirements, and he had the meditation method, it was like having Felina right in front of him. Lee Sais couldn't resist and immediately used gold boosting to analyze it. Basic Meditation Method, Apprentice. Entry 0/100. Note: this is the most basic and lowest level meditation method in the wizard world. It is suitable for wizard apprentices and helps build a relatively stable mental space. With long-term practice, it can slightly increase the apprentice's mental strength. Since it is the simplest meditation method, its effects on the stability of the mental space and mental power growth are minimal. It has no special additional attributes or effects, but taking the first step on a long journey is already a big achievement. Lee Sais is very satisfied, as he is now an apprentice wizard. Lee Sais, Elementary Wizard Apprentice, Strength, 2.0, 2.2, Agility, 2.7, 3.0, Body, 3.0 Mental Power, 3.0. The numbers in parentheses are the improvements gained after upgrading basic swordsmanship, which only apply during sword combat. After about 15 minutes, the information about the basic meditation method, Apprentice, processed through a paid analysis, continued to input paid data into Lee Sais' memory sector. It was as if Lee Sais had already memorized and understood it deeply. He finally understood one thing. Why? As an apprentice wizard, even after reaching the required mental power, he still couldn't cast spells. Only after successfully learning the meditation method could he gain the ability to cast spells. This shows the importance of a stable mental space. The effect of meditation on increasing mental power is just one aspect. Its main purpose is to create a stable mental space, allowing apprentices to use their mental strength to build various mysterious magical models within this space. Think of it like this. You already have the ability to draw and you have a pen, but you still need a piece of paper, right? Human mental space is inherently illusory and unstable. People's thoughts are always changing, making it hard to focus on one thing. For example, imagine visualizing a clear picture of a fish swimming in water in your mind. At first, you might think of it, but then you need to imagine the fish's mouth, fins, scales, tail, etc., and keep your mind free of other thoughts. The fish is the only thing in your mind, like it exists and doesn't at the same time. Most people can't do this. Their thoughts will fluctuate, be influenced, or break off. Later, experienced wizard ancestors spent countless years developing symbols and characters. Based on these symbols, they found stable rune combinations that, with the help of human mental power, could construct a semi-existent, stable mental space in the illusory realm. With the help of this stable mental space, the wizard can easily build a magic model and then use magic power to cast spells. In the notes under Paid Features, it states that basic meditation methods can create a stable mental space, which means most common spells are fine. However, some very special spells require better meditation techniques and a more stable mental space to succeed. Therefore, in the wizard world, it is often said that meditation is the foundation of a wizard, and this is true. Although it is a basic meditation method, Lis does not aim too high. He takes things step by step. The basic meditation method is the oldest, and all other meditation methods are built on it. When better methods appear, they can replace the old ones without problems. After thinking for a moment, Lis spent 50 energy points to analyze the Wizard's Hand spell that Professor Mary taught in class. This is a must-have spell for apprentices. 0-level spell, Wizard's Hand, beginner 0 out of 100. Note: consumes some mental energy, summons a transparent, telepathically controlled floating arm. It can lift heavy objects and last for 30 minutes. The spell's cost, duration, and effects depend on the caster's level, mental energy, and skill. Lis used mental energy to cast Wizard's Hand to pick up a book from the bedside table 10 meters away. It felt like an extra arm appeared out of nowhere, grabbing the book and flying away. But after about 30 meters, it couldn't go further. He tried to lift a heavy wooden bed weighing around 100 jin, about 50 kilograms. It was just barely possible. Heavier objects would be too much. The mental energy used was about 0.5. According to the analysis in the Paid Features, range, weight, and mental energy consumption can improve with practice. Increasing mental energy and leveling up as an apprentice will also help. This shows how important mental energy and level are. The same spell, cast by a lower-level apprentice, is much weaker than when cast by a higher-level one. Also, the higher the mental energy, the stronger the spell's effects, and the more spells can be cast at once. Lis really wants to increase his mental energy, but he doesn't have enough gold coins. What can he do? After mastering the secret meditation technique and officially becoming a novice wizard apprentice, Lis felt his soul quality rapidly improve, along with his innate talent. Level up to Wizard Apprentice, gold-boosted talent analysis ability upgraded. Now he could spend energy points to directly increase the proficiency of skills below the apprentice level. Energy points. For proficiency points equals 1 WoW. This really is a lifesaver. With about 8 gold coins, he could boost a basic apprentice level skill to full proficiency at 100 out of 100, then analyze and upgrade it to a higher level. Amazing results. It saves a lot of time, but the energy points are also draining quickly. Lisey's heart was pounding. Could his small money-making engine keep up with this spending rate? He shook his head, pushing aside these random thoughts. There were still 20 minutes left on the Wizard's Hand spell. He needed to practice more seriously now, saving a little gold whenever he could. People can't just rely on pay-to-win methods to get by, right? When Felina finished her morning teaching and returned to the apartment, She saw Li Si's controlling the knight's sword with the wizard's hand, practicing basic sword techniques. Felina, an experienced apprentice, immediately understood. Her beloved had successfully advanced and become a wizard apprentice. Being a wizard apprentice is different from ordinary people. Although they were already together, as long as Li Si's wasn't an apprentice yet, Felina felt like a heavy stone was pressing on her heart, making her feel their relationship lacked a solid foundation. Now, that stone was finally lifted. Felina felt so happy inside. She walked over lightly, gently wiped the sweat from Li Si's forehead, and spoke softly like cotton candy. "Darling, congratulations on becoming a novice apprentice. Now it's time to think about your specialization." Although apprentices can theoretically learn all kinds of magic, human energy is limited. Most people choose a specific field to study deeply, gaining enough knowledge to influence the world and reach higher levels. Plus, the chosen specialization also affects the future solidification of innate magic talents. Of course, it's not necessary to stick to just one path forever. For example, if the requirement for promotion is to score 90 points, an apprentice focusing on just one subject only needs to get 90 points in that subject. Those who want to excel in multiple areas also need to reach 90 points in at least one subject, but they will have to spend more time and effort on other subjects as well. This naturally takes up a lot of time and energy. In theory, Li Si can rely on his powerful, pay-to-win analysis skills to learn almost effortlessly. Time and energy are not issues for him, so he can master multiple fields. However, Li Si understands the saying, biting off more than you can chew. When he just started learning magic, he didn't have enough energy points to do everything. He still needs to make choices and prioritize. Felina suggests focusing on the necromancy school. This way, she can guide him personally, and in the future, they can learn from each other on the broader wizard path. Golia also mentioned before that melee wizards are very powerful. There is a legendary wizard in the Wizard Council who is famous for close combat magic. Close combat magic? Li Si immediately dismissed the idea. While charging into everything headfirst is exciting, he prefers strategic planning. As for necromancy, it's strong, but if Felina wasn't specialized in necromancy, he might have chosen it. Now that both of them are on the necromancy path, how will they share advanced resources in the future? Having similar abilities could also be a problem. Li Si actually misses the days at his previous research institute. His pay-to-win powers still contain a lot of knowledge from his past research. Although the rules and basics of the two worlds are different and can't be directly applied, the ideas and concepts are similar. Many things are different paths to the same goal. For example, the simplest bicycle. According to his previous world's blueprints, they couldn't even make rubber tires filled with air. But in this world, bicycles exist too. Although the tires don't need to be inflated and the structure is different, fundamentally, they are tools for short-distance travel. "I think I want to focus on mechanical alchemy for now," he said. "I already have a plan in mind. While magic is powerful, apprentices have limited mental strength, so they can only learn a limited amount of magic." Golia said that melee wizards are strong partly because they are limited in the number of spells they can cast. Li Si believes that specializing in mechanical alchemy can help avoid close combat dangers and reduce reliance on casting magic spells. In this world, there are revolvers and muskets, but their power is somewhat limited. Mechanical alchemy is just the right solution to this problem. As far as Li Si knows, there are also wizards who focus on this field and have made a name for themselves. Farina thought for a moment, her eyes brightening. "This is a great idea. Dear, your ability to come up with the little wizard donkey and the three bouncer shows you have talent in mechanical alchemy. You could definitely become a genius in this field." Haha. If I had known you would level up to an apprentice so quickly and choose mechanical alchemy, I would have waited for you to design the energy core modules for the wizard donkey and the three bouncer yourself. Original designs like these will also help you build a good reputation in this area later. Li Si smiled and gently pinched her face. Who knew I would level up so fast? Besides, I still can't design independently yet. I haven't learned enough about the related knowledge. And isn't what I have yours? Why make such a big deal about it? Farina's heart warmed, and she kissed him passionately. After a while, her face blushed, and she panted slightly. Mechanical alchemy requires knowledge of materials science, basic alchemy theory, and mechanical engineering. Don't worry, I have all the basic materials here. I'll handle it for you. Although these are fundamental theories, lower-level colleges don't teach them at all. Fortunately, Farina studied at a higher-level college and knows how to obtain these materials. If Li Zi had to gather them himself and wasn't at a higher college, it would be a big hassle. Talking about the wizard donkey and the three bouncer, which are Li Zi's main products for making money, he immediately asked about their progress. By the way, how's the patent application for those two inventions going? The machine tools I ordered are almost here. Once the patent rights are approved, we can roll up our sleeves and start making money. Farina smiled sweetly. The senior sent a message last time saying it should be in the next day or two. Everything is going smoothly. They even helped us secure a 30-year protection period. Li Zi felt a weight lift from his heart. Good. As long as it's smooth, I'll make sure to thank this senior properly. At that moment, Li's wizard hand effect just ended, and the knight sword smoothly flew back onto the wooden rack. Felina stepped forward, sweetly wrapping her arms around him. Darling, it's only noon. There's still plenty of time. Lis raised an eyebrow. His physical strength now far exceeded 3.0, no longer the passive rookie he once was. Without hesitation, he used his arm to lift Felina onto his lap, letting her sit comfortably. He leaned back slightly against the side wall of the living room, about to kiss her. However, Felina playfully turned her face away, giggling. Today is your big day to become a junior wizard apprentice. You should be proud of yourself, Lis. Wait, I can also transform into other people. 2 hours passed, and neither of them wanted to stop. But Felina had teaching duties in the afternoon, so they reluctantly parted, still holding each other. Felina rested her head on Lis's chest and suddenly looked up to remind him. The day after tomorrow, your factory will start operating. You haven't decided on a name yet, Lis suddenly realized. He had indeed been very busy lately. The equipment in Geli City would be installed by tomorrow, and the blacksmith apprentices and workers recruited by his father, Patif, had already arrived at the factory. The opening day was just around the corner. Unfortunately, he wasn't very good at coming up with names. After a moment of thought, he helplessly said, "How about calling it Felina Machinery Factory?" Felina couldn't help but giggle. Don't be so casual with the name. Why use my name? Why not call it Lis Machinery Factory? Lis raised an eyebrow. I'm too lazy to think of a better name. Just call it that. 2 days later, when the big sign reading, Lis Machinery Factory, was hung on the factory door, Lis felt a strong sense of embarrassment. From now on, wouldn't the small magical donkeys and tricycles people ride be branded as Lis brand? And when they meet, they'll ask, "Did you ride the Lis today?" This. How can I face people like this? The establishment of Lis Machinery Factory was a major event in Grey Mist Mountain Town. It was the first time since the town was founded that such a large-scale factory had been completed, and it was led by the most familiar blacksmith, Father Patif. Attending the opening ceremony, people could also receive candies. Because of this, the crowd coming to watch the event lined up far outside the neighboring college gate. Only a few powerful figures in Grey Mist Mountain Town knew the real owner of the mechanical factory was a 19-year-old student from the low-level sorcery college. No one expected that even before the factory officially opened, it had already received many large orders. The town mayor, police chief, Slava from the Land Bureau, and leaders from the Planning and Commerce Bureaus all came to celebrate and give congratulations. As Patif loudly announced through a loudspeaker, "Good luck with the start of work." Immediately, the factory filled with the loud noise of machinery, and the onlookers slowly dispersed under the guidance of police officers. After Slava and the leaders from the Planning and Commerce Bureaus left, the town mayor, Vlari, and the police chief, Mara, stayed behind. These two most powerful people in the town seemed to be waiting until the very end. Sure enough, when no one else was around, Vlari and Mara approached, smiling warmly, and said, "Congratulations on the successful opening of Lord Lis Mechanical Factory. This is the biggest factory in Grey Mist Mountain Town since it was founded. You've done a great service for our hometown. On behalf of the entire town, thank you." Lis smiled and replied, "In the future, I will still rely on Mayor Vlari and Director Mara's support in Grey Mist Mountain Town." Vlari and Mara exchanged a glance, cleared their throats, and said, "Ahem, with your business size, our small town probably can't do much to help. But a few days ago, Viscount Wisman specifically contacted the town government. After hearing about your achievements, he praised you highly and said he would like to meet you someday. If you can pledge loyalty to Viscount Wisman and gain his favor, your factory will surely succeed. Li's eyes narrowed. His factory had just opened and already caught Wisman's attention. His control was incredibly strong, and these two people clearly worked for Wisman. Unfortunately, they didn't know that Wisman himself hadn't noticed. Lis already knew the secret of his family's treason and rebellion. He also didn't know whether these two knew about Wisman's treasonous acts. He naturally couldn't rely on Wisman and could only make vague jokes. I didn't expect my small factory to reach the ears of Lord Wisman. I am truly honored. However, this factory is just to fulfill orders from the Academy and friends, so it probably won't last long. I'm still young and aiming to attend a higher-level wizard school. Loyalty can wait until I graduate. It was clear he was refusing. Vlari didn't say more. He exchanged polite words and then took his leave with Mara. During the whole process, Mara hardly spoke except to congratulate him. She seemed harder to deal with than Vlari, and he was only an intermediate apprentice wizard. After they left, Golia and Felina, hiding nearby, approached out of curiosity and asked, "Why did the mayor stay to see you?" Lee sighed. "Golia, you need to be careful. The mayor and the director are both people of Wisman. They came earlier representing the Viscount to persuade me to be loyal, but I refused." Felina looked worried. "Refusing them? Could it cause trouble?" Lee smiled. "Bring it on, and we'll handle it." Golia frowned. "This is really bad luck." Seeing their gazes, she lowered her voice. "The city police just sent word. Someone has accused me of framing a colleague and using false charges to cause Wilson's death. They want me to stop working and undergo an investigation. The team will arrive tomorrow." This was undoubtedly a trap for Golia. Wilson deserved to die, but Golia couldn't reveal the truth and was just anxious. She was deputy director and a wizard apprentice. Wilson had no family. If no one filed a complaint, this might just blow over. It's definitely Wilson's enemies fighting back, trying to find out what we know. This is a dead end. Lise also looked worried. Felina thought for a moment and said, "Let's not talk about Reese for now. Can we find evidence from Bobby's old case to prove Wilson's guilt?" Lise shook her head. "That would expose us to Wisman's suspicion. He would think we know about his treason, which would be even more dangerous." She then asked Golia, "Can we ask Sween from the Internal Affairs Department to step in and suppress this matter?" Gilia sighed. "I discussed with my senior brother, and if there's no other way, this is the only option. But he analyzed that doing this will most likely expose Rice quickly. Once Rice is exposed, the responsibility for the failed plan will fall on Swin and us, or even." Lyses understood Swin's deep concern. Responsibility is secondary. After Rice is exposed, the Westman and Fading Federation will immediately realize that the treason has been leaked, which could lead to a break between the Duchy and Westman, causing a total collapse of the situation. Compared to that, revealing Bobby's old case means only the three of us might face retaliation. Lyses fell into thought. How exactly can we break this deadlock? Lyses shared the outcome of the Internal Affairs team's plan with Gilia. Gilia immediately felt conflicted. Neither option seemed good. What should she do? Seeing Lyses' furrowed brow and lack of solution, forget it. There's no way around it. I might just give up being deputy director. I'll have my father take me back to the provincial city. Don't worry about me." Lyses and Felina were stunned. It seemed Gilia also had a strong background. No wonder she could boldly take the deputy director position under Viscount Westman. Gilia stuck out her tongue and apologized. "It's not that I didn't want to tell you, but I really didn't want anyone to know about my father. After all, I am myself, and my father is my father." Gilia then explained that her father is the deputy director of the Manta Provincial Public Security Department, though few outside know this. This background is indeed powerful, but Viscount Westman is a landlord, so her father probably can't interfere directly. However, ensuring Gilia isn't bullied and having her transferred back to the provincial department afterward should be no problem. They were worried that Gilia might be falsely accused and sentenced, but now it seems unlikely. Because, according to procedure, the final decision must be approved by the provincial department, so Gilia can't be sentenced. But if they make Gilia bear a bad reputation and lose her deputy director position, it would be upsetting. Not only would Gilia, with her strong sense of justice, feel bad, but Lyses also felt somewhat guilty. So, they still need to think of a good plan. Lyses thought for a moment and, considering Bobby and Reese's situation, came up with a rough idea. He planned to create a believable story on the surface, but it had to withstand possible lie detection magic. Gloria, just say, I received an anonymous call saying someone and Wilson wanted to kill me. When you arrived, they were about to kill me. You accidentally shot and killed him. His accomplice escaped. You are investigating this matter. Li Zi planned to describe the scene in his statement like this. Li Zi saw Wilson meeting a stranger. The stranger ordered to kill Li Zi. Li Zi was taken to Wilson's house. Just as he was about to be killed, the police arrived, and Wilson was shot. The stranger also escaped. Under lie detection magic, this truthful description would be accepted as real because it contains no falsehoods, only a slight reversal of the order of events. For example, Li Zi was actually taken to Wilson's house before seeing Reese and Wilson meet. But lie detection magic cannot detect the sequence of these two statements being reversed. Moreover, such a statement might mislead others into thinking there is a causal link, like believing Li Zi saw Wilson and the stranger, which led to the order to kill him. In reality, there is no cause and effect relationship. Lie detection magic cannot judge causality, it only detects truthfulness. This could raise more questions for investigators, such as who made the call or who the middle-aged man is. But that has nothing to do with Gloria. Responses like, I don't know, I can't remember, or simply silence are acceptable. Li Zi's goal isn't to cooperate with the investigation, but to clear Gloria's name. Gloria looked at him gratefully. That also pulls you into this, and you might be in danger too. Li Zi smiled and said, if it doesn't work out, I can ask your dad to protect both of us. But I think it's quite possible because the other side isn't clear about the whole event. We can connect some unrelated facts to create a believable story. And since you have a background, as long as the investigation isn't too strict, they won't dare to act recklessly. When the time comes, let's coordinate. If they try to ask overly invasive questions, you should interrupt them. After listening to Lis's detailed explanation again, Golia and Felina could only deeply admire him. They wondered how this boy's mind worked so well. Golia joked, Kid, you're so familiar with avoiding lie detection magic. Did you lie like this often before? Lis raised an eyebrow and replied, Humph. Now you see how powerful I am. You should bow and submit. Hearing this, Golia acted like a tough, bossy sister. She threw a big bag at Lis's head. Bow and submit? Watch out, kid. Don't drive into me. The worries that had troubled them earlier were quickly solved by Lis. And Felina, feeling relieved, watched the two playfully tease each other and giggle. Lis touched his slightly sore head and reminded, there's one more detail to watch out for. Your police station and the Internal Affairs Department both have questioning techniques for corpses. Be careful. They might ask Wilson directly about the corpse. Lis remembered the corpse questioning technique because it was listed in the Internal Affairs Merit Exchange Manual as a special magic. This magic can temporarily wake up a recently deceased body, allowing questions to be asked within 30 minutes. The corpse will answer honestly based on its knowledge. This magic is very unique and useful. It costs 40 points to exchange in the Internal Affairs Department. It's also difficult to get this special magic outside the police and Internal Affairs Departments. Lis planned to exchange for it once he accumulated enough merit points. This magic is essential for intelligence agents. Sometimes, what the dead say is more useful than what the living do. Golia became nervous upon hearing this. Really? I remember now. If a corpse has been used with necromancy magic, it can't be questioned again, she suggested. Should I send someone to the storage to get a necromancy tool and use it on Wilson's corpse? Lis thought for a moment and shook his head. That would leave too many traces and could be caught. This time, Felina should handle it. Later, you take us near where Wilson's body is stored. Felina can then instruct Bobby to possess himself and do the job. Julia patted her turbulent waves of hair to calm her nervous heart, then sincerely said, Lis, I am so lucky to know you. Your wisdom is unmatched. You solve such complicated problems just by thinking about them. Oh, if we pass this test smoothly, I will definitely thank you properly. Just tell me what you want. Lis looked at Julia. She wore a tight red uniform that outlined her graceful figure, with a slender waist, full and upright chest. Her long legs stretched straight beneath her skirt, and her blonde curly hair fell over her shoulders. Her lips were red like fire, and her eyes sparkled with a charming look. He swallowed hard. Next to them, Felina heard Julia's words and watched Lis's reaction. She became cautious and secretly squeezed Lis's arm tightly, whispering in his ear, "You promised me, half a year." "Oh, that cursed half a year." Lis forcibly turned his face away, swallowed again, and smiled openly. "Julia, don't mind if I'm busy when I'm with you. Besides, we are allies." "Yes, we are allies." Julia also noticed Lis's reaction. She hadn't thought much of it before, but now her cheeks felt a little warm. She quickly responded to hide her embarrassment. The first snow from the north arrived at this remote town nearly a month ago. Gray Mist Mountain Town was still covered in heavy snow. It seemed like endless snowflakes falling from the sky, which added a lot of extra cost to the town. Clearing snow from roads at all levels, keeping the roads passable. Under the heavy snow, monster activity decreased, but those monsters capable of moving in the snow were even more difficult to deal with. Plus, with the snow, activities of dark forces like gangs and thieves, which don't produce anything, became more frequent. Beneath the thick snow, countless bodies, crimes, treasures, or secrets might be buried. The investigation department of Gelly City Police Station arrived, bringing the ideas of some important figures from Gelly City and also a lie detector. Maybe for secrets, maybe for crimes, or perhaps for revenge. But Julia was no pushover. With Lis's reminder, she reported some details to her father overnight, and the provincial police also sent people to listen in on the investigation. The investigators saw Li Zi start by threatening him. "You are Li Zi. Now tell us everything you know honestly. We have a magic device that detects lies. If you hide anything or lie, it will be considered as part of a conspiracy to harm Wilson." This kind of talk was just play acting for Li Zi. In his past life, he was responsible for key technology in the South Skygate project. His first training at the Research Institute was how to deal with enemy interrogation and lie detection devices. The old lie detector analyzed body signals like heartbeat, microexpressions, speech details, and body movements. Based on that training, Li Zi knew he could manipulate these signals to fool the device. In this world, the basic principle of the lie magic is similar, but the data is read by mysterious spirits or some kind of collective consciousness. And with this mysterious magic power, Li Zi wasn't sure if his tricks would work. But he wasn't afraid because what he was about to say was not a lie. Of course, it wasn't the truth either. But who says that not lying means telling the truth? Li Zi quickly finished his story, then looked as if he was overwhelmed with fear, his face pale, breathing fast, and he stopped talking. The investigators saw this and shouted sharply, "How is that possible? Is that all? Are you hiding anything else? Tell the truth, or else." Cough, cough. "Comrades from the investigation department, what do you want to do now?" Golia picked up her cup, took a sip of hot water, and interrupted, her eyes narrowing with a dangerous look at him. I think what he said is too simple. A police chief's death is such a big case, and this is all the record we have? That doesn't seem right," she said. The investigators didn't dare threaten anymore and looked for a reason. Li Zi, pretending to be uncomfortable, secretly sighed. "My silly girl, she clearly has no experience in fighting. It would be perfect if he just kept threatening and let us ask questions. Look at the experienced officers from the provincial department. They didn't say a word. They were just waiting for him to threaten. Then our questioning could be over. There's no choice now but to act on my own." Suddenly, he fell off the stool, clutching his chest, breathing heavily, and coughing up blood. "My head hurts so much. Oh, there's a ghost. They want to hurt me. Help me. Help me." The investigator frowned, trying to continue asking, "Lis, who is that man? Did someone intentionally kill Wilson? Ah, help me." Lis, seeming to face danger, clutched his head and nervously approached Golia. Golia had no choice but to stand up, hold Lis, and bury his head in her chest, patting his back and saying, "Don't be afraid. Lis, don't be afraid." He truly felt a different, subtle scent from Felina. Lis greedily took a deep breath. This breath made Golia react suddenly. Her body trembled slightly, wanting to push Lis away. Should I also revise this? The officer from the provincial department saw Lis in fear, with his body showing signs of distress, and said, "Let's stop here. The testimony is enough to prove Golia didn't make up evidence. Wilson's death was deserved. I hope the police in Golia respect the facts. After I return to the provincial office, I will report to the director and announce Wilson's removal from the police force. Goodbye." He was straightforward and brief. The provincial officer finished speaking, then grabbed a folder with records and walked out of the police station, winking playfully at Golia as he passed by. Golia's heart skipped a beat, unsure if her expression was because she saw Lys's playful gesture. If her father finds out about this, Lys, still holding her, couldn't resist and took another deep breath of her scent. Golia's body immediately trembled again. It was as if some mysterious sense had been awakened, ready to sweep through her entire body. The people from the city investigation department, seeing the provincial officers leave without further action, looked displeased and stood up. This hadn't completed the task assigned from above. Thinking of the rumored ruthlessness of the leaders, he took a deep breath, feeling a sudden chill. He steeled himself and said to Golia, "Golia, first take Lys outside. I have something more to discuss with you later." Golia felt like she had been given a reprieve. She hugged Lys again, not sure if she could handle any more embarrassment. As she helped the pretend-to-be-ill Lys out of the interrogation room, she suddenly reached out and sharply pinched his waist. When they reached the nearby lounge, she suddenly pushed Lys's away. She rolled her eyes at him, still feeling upset, and threw 2 steel coins onto his head, shouting, "Kid, that's too much." Then she quickly closed the door with a red face and stepped outside to catch her breath. After calming down and smoothing her expression, she re-entered the interrogation room. She didn't know what more the idiots from the investigation office wanted to say to her. After about 10 minutes, when the city bureau investigators left, Golia calmly pushed open the lounge door and locked it from the inside. Seeing Golia's cold expression, Lys secretly thought, "This isn't going to be about punishing me for what just happened, is it?" Honestly, I couldn't help myself in that situation. It's because Golia is so perfect in figure and she smells so nice. Facing that powerful wave of emotion, I only took a few breaths. That's already a lot of restraint. Plus, I promised Felina a half-year commitment. This matter. Lys felt nervous and uneasy about his mistake. Meanwhile, Golia seemed to have completely forgotten what just happened, cursing angrily. "Damn Viscount Weissman. Damn the city police. At most, I won't be the deputy director anymore." Lys felt reassured and, curious, asked, "Who made our provincial lady so angry?" Golia rolled her eyes at Lys, her face slightly red from who knows what she was thinking, then quickly suppressed her anger and said, "That damn guy from the city bureau threatened me. He said everyone in the city bureau knows I'm retaliating against Wilson, so just forget about it this time. But he told me I have to obey the big picture, and in Gil City, I must follow Viscount Weissman's orders. He said if I joined them, I could get promoted faster." The people from the provincial office and the city bureau had already left the Gray Mist Mountain Town police station, so Golia's problem was resolved. However, what the city bureau people said before leaving made Golia furious, as if she was about to go on strike. After hearing this, Lys analyzed briefly and smiled to comfort Golia. "First, they still think Wilson and you have a personal grudge. That's actually good, isn't it? Second, they just want you to obey in name only and not cause trouble anymore. Unlike me, they still want me to tremble and bow down, pledging loyalty to them. They also don't seem to know about your background, Mississippi. Maybe that's why they didn't dare to act so rashly." Lys's playful words made Golia chuckle softly, freeing her from her anger. She also thought Lys's words made sense. Looking at it this way, she didn't need to be so angry over just a few words. Seeing that Golia was no longer angry, Lys continued, "Do you remember Felina's suggestion? To find evidence of Westman's treason." Golia raised an eyebrow. She wasn't naive and quick to respond. "Are you asking me to pretend to join them and secretly look for evidence?" Lys nodded and then shook his head. "Times have changed. At first, we wanted to stay low and avoid Westman's influence, but it seems we can't avoid him anymore. So, it's better to plan early. If we can gather evidence, it will definitely help us. Also, you don't need to truly join them. In your position, just write a few letters, pretend to admit mistakes, and follow the overall plan and orders from above. It might be a bit unfair to ask you to bear some bad reputation for now." Golia sighed. She realized how difficult it was to be a pure justice seeker with just her passion. She nodded weakly and said, "I'll think about it. I might need your help later. I'm not good at these schemes and tricks." Lys raised an eyebrow at her words. "Golia, are you saying that all my plans are schemes and tricks?" Golia teased. No. Our Lys is the most clever and resourceful." She suddenly remembered that her words, "our Lys," might sound awkward, recalling the embarrassing moment just now. Feeling a mix of strange feelings and annoyance, she rudely told Lee Sais to leave so she could be alone. Lee Sais helped Golia with her problem. Happy, he was about to leave when he was called by someone he knew at the school. To his surprise, it was a letter from Phylin, Lee Sais' friend. Hello, upon hearing from you. We met briefly and parted quickly. I was surprised to hear that you and Felina successfully filed 2 inventions. I carefully studied your designs, and they are truly brilliant ideas and concepts. I foresee that my friend's 2 inventions could fill many gaps in transportation methods. They could be useful for civilian, commercial, or military use. I have an idea. If the speed can truly reach 250 kilometers per hour or higher, could we create a special high-speed mobile unit equipped with small vehicles like the Little Witch Donkey or 3 Bouncers? This unit could serve as scouts or quickly switch battlefields to attack enemies, or even undertake long-distance raids behind enemy lines to carry out various special tactics. My friend, as one of the designers, I wonder if my idea can be realized. Please help me understand. Additionally, my friend's invention should be considered a general invention, protected for more than 20 years. However, in this kingdom, many clever people are around. During the review process, I don't know how your invention might be leaked. Some powerful organizations and individuals see great business opportunities and don't want you to hold a monopoly for long. They are secretly collaborating. Although I have tried my best, I ultimately couldn't change the situation. Sigh. In the end, it was rated as a simple improvement over existing bicycles, with a low-end product and limited use, protected for only 5 years. These organizations and individuals are already preparing to launch a business crackdown to monopolize related interests. My friend and Felina must be very careful. Also, I really like the design of the Little Witch Donkey. I study mechanical alchemy myself and want to use your design drawings to make one for myself. Please, my friend, allow me to do so. I believe you and Felina are also skilled in mechanical alchemy. To thank you, I am giving you 2 books, Metal Refining Methods and Witchcraft Machine Tool Manufacturing Techniques. I hope you accept. Furthermore, I have arranged for the high-precision lathe you asked me to buy. I have contacted the Blue Wave branch of the Crimson Soul Machinery Group. It will be shipped soon via Magic Train to Gale City, then delivered to you from the Gale branch. You can transfer the payment to the staff there. Finally, I want to once again praise your brilliant ideas. If you have any other thoughts or questions about mechanical alchemy, we can discuss them together. I didn't expect to receive a message from the mysterious leather-clad girl, Fyron. Liz was deeply impressed by her and immediately sensed she had a noble background. Now he is even more convinced she must be of high birth, but he knows nothing about her. It was rare that I was actually a fellow apprentice of a wizard specializing in mechanical alchemy, just like Liz. Surprisingly, I didn't even know the result of my knowledge rights application, but Fyron had already found out and informed me secretly. During the final review, it seemed she had helped me, clearly indicating that the 8:2 decision was influenced by Fyron and that senior. Those organizations and individuals trying to monopolize the interests of small wizards and the 3-wheeled vehicles are truly despicable. But Liz didn't have much attachment to 5 or 30 years anyway. 5 years was enough for him to earn enough money with these 2 inventions. After 5 years, when others imitate the small wizard and the 3-wheeled vehicles, he could develop other products. He believed he could always stay ahead of others and lead the era. Especially now that he had become an apprentice wizard, he could combine the knowledge from past civilizations to create more ideas and inventions. Fyron was quite interesting too. To make his magic-powered motorcycle, she even gave away 2 precious books on mechanical alchemy. He wondered what she would look like driving a magic-powered motorcycle, especially since she liked wearing tight leather clothes. Finally, he managed to secure a high-precision machine tool, so his second factory for producing revolvers and muskets could start operating. This task of leveraging one thing to create another could go further, earning more gold coins and credits. He also hoped to use Golia's connections to try to get orders from the Mont Province Police Department. And finally, the knowledge rights for both inventions were approved. Although the results were mixed, he could now start producing small wizard vehicles and 3-wheeled cars. This unique product was currently his main industry, more profitable than the weapons business. Of course, manufacturing weapons couldn't be abandoned either, as it was his main research direction in magic and related to the internal affairs, Mission. Holding Firen's message, Lys walked and thought about his next steps, heading slowly toward Felina's apartment. Across the lake, Lys' personal apartment on the opposite shore was already built, but Felina was still shy and hadn't moved in yet. However, Lys estimated that with a little more effort, he could persuade Felina to move over in a few days. After all, it's easier to do things over there. Even if the ground shakes, it's hard for anyone to notice. Don't doubt it. With their physical abilities, even a ground shake wouldn't matter. Once they become official wizards, even more incredible things could happen. In the apartment, Felina was already waiting. She wore a wine-red silk slip dress that just reached her knees. The soft fabric clung tightly to her body, highlighting her slender waist and full hips. Her bare skin at the shoulders and neck was smooth and delicate, like fine jade. A small pearl pendant hung between her collarbones, gently swaying with her breath. Her tousled chestnut curls were casually draped over her shoulders, with a few strands falling onto her chest, making her snowy white skin look even more striking. She had light makeup on, with slightly winged eyeliner that added a charming allure, and her lips were lightly pressed together with a faint smile. Under the warm yellow light, she radiated a gentle, yet deadly seductive charm. She muttered in a pout, "These review groups are too harsh. They rated us as an improved product. Only 5 years of protection." Lys gently hugged her, softly stroking her smooth back. "Don't be angry. 5 years is enough for us to make a lot of money. Trust your husband's mind. When the time comes, I can easily develop some new products and still make a big profit. This review meeting is quite complicated. Look at this." He handed Felina's message to his beloved, secretly teasing her with one hand. People say a short separation makes the heart grow fonder, but Lys and Felina have been together for over a month, and they still stick close every day. It's because Felina, this little witch, is so playful. Once, she even transformed into a stunning elf princess that Lys had never seen before. No wonder they say wizard apprentices are knowledgeable. After reading, Felina finally understood the story behind this invention's intellectual property application. She pondered thoughtfully. These organizations are so mean. But we have to be careful. Although we have 5 years of protection, they clearly won't let us go smoothly. They might play dirty tricks on us. Harmony. Sorry, I don't mean to disturb your reading. After a few hours, the satisfied Lys. The factory gradually returned to normal operation. It's expected that the college and the Federation of Fading will deliver the first batch of goods in half a month, along with the payment. Lys couldn't resist the temptation and spent 16 gold coins to upgrade his strength to the knight level standard of 3.0. Now he was a perfect hexagonal knight, with his attack and defense fully balanced with Felina's character. Felina finally changed from being dissatisfied to quickly fleeing. Lys watched the shy Felina leave and felt a sense of relief in maintaining order at home. He took out some carefully selected materials from the library of the town academy, including books like Detailed Explanation of Common Minerals, Principles of Machinery, Basic Understanding of the World's 5 Great Powers, and Firearm Manufacturing. The books on basic knowledge of magic and alchemy that Felina ordered from the higher academy had not yet arrived. But these basic knowledge books, which do not involve mysterious magical powers, are essential for Lys to study mechanical alchemy deeply. Lys had already shared his plan to start with firearms and craft guns with Felina, hoping to get her help. With a beautiful mentor helping him plan his courses, all he needed to do was work hard and spend more money. Lys opened Detailed Explanation of Common Minerals and quickly flipped through the pages. In fact, he had already spent 1 energy point to activate the money spending analysis function. Consume 1 energy point to analyze. Detailed Explanation of Common Minerals, analyzing. A stream of information about various common minerals flooded into Lys's mind. Some of it was consistent with what he knew from Blue Star. But because of mysterious energy particles, this world also had many minerals he had never seen before. The densest metal known to ordinary people, which can be mined, was even heavier than uranium in his previous life. Moreover, due to long-term mutation caused by various energy particles, this world had over 150 types of metals and minerals, nearly half more than on Blue Star. Many metals and materials not listed in this book could only be accessed by wizards in the wizarding world. After about 10 minutes, Lys reluctantly put down Detailed Explanation of Common Minerals. In this world, only knowledge and witches could truly please him. Unfortunately, the former costs money, and the latter costs emotion. This money-spending ability inherited from his previous lives, Ink Master, with fast scanning and knowledge transfer functions, was very efficient but also very costly. This hefty book, priced at only 80 copper coins, actually cost 2 silver coins to analyze. However, to improve quickly, Lee Sais had no other choice. He heard that experienced high-level wizards have mysterious magic skills like speed reading and mastering writing, which help them quickly absorb and understand knowledge from books. But even Felina had never truly seen these magical skills, let alone Lee Sais, who just started learning wizardry. Now, he could only rely on paid analysis, which was much better than struggling to learn like apprentice wizards. Consume 2 energy points, analyzing the 5 great powers of the world, analysis in progress. This is a summary after wizards understand the true nature of the world. The world includes gravity, electromagnetism, weak force, strong force, and mysterious power. Under the influence of these 5 basic forces, many magical changes and phenomena occur in the wizarding world. Although Earth's physics still has many lessons to learn, it has become completely different here. Using Earth's theories, it's impossible to explain how he can lift himself and throw into the air, but in this world, it makes sense. Consume 2 energy points, analyzing principles of machinery, analysis in progress. Machinery is a device that uses various energies and forces to move. The basic forces that make up the world have changed greatly, and with the many magical materials here, the principles of machinery have also become unrecognizable. From airless bicycle tires to floating crystal balls controlling magical boxes, Lee Sais has gained deep understanding. Consume 1 energy point, analyzing firearm manufacturing, analysis in progress. After studying these books, Lee Sais now has a very good understanding of making firearms. In his personal information from paid analysis, a few more items have been added. Mineral identification, basic, 0-100ths beginner. Note: he can now identify most minerals through theoretical knowledge, understanding their smelting requirements and properties. Firearm manufacturing, basic, 0/100 beginner. Note: through systematic learning, he can assemble common revolvers, muskets, and other firearms found in this world. Firearm manufacturing requires suitable parts for assembly, which, if not produced by machinery like lathes, depend on blacksmith forging and crafting. In his memory, Lis was originally not very talented, but he was entirely focused on becoming a wizard or a knight. He never thought about or planned to learn his father's blacksmith skills. Looking back now, he realizes he can't afford to ignore them. To learn firearm manufacturing deeply, Lis must pick up the blacksmith skills again. On Blue Star, Lis also focused on mechanical research, but only needed to think, draw diagrams, and give instructions to craftsmen. He never had to do the work himself. Now, with this completely different experience and need for mechanical research, Lis feels a strange sense of novelty. This is the world of wizards, where all great power is concentrated in one. The town of Grey Mist Mountain had been snowing heavily for nearly a month. It seemed the endless snow finally stopped. Perhaps the son of endless plains had defeated the ruler behind the snow, and the white sky over Grey Mist Mountain finally welcomed the first golden light of dawn. The golden sunlight felt especially comfortable on the skin, and the air seemed a little warmer. Lis, now an apprentice wizard, gained a new insight. He could faintly sense strange changes in the energy particles in the air. This is the theory of energy tides. With seasonal and day-night changes, the energy of certain attributes varies periodically. During the day, the concentration of light attribute particles is slightly higher than at night. In winter, water element particles are a bit more concentrated. In summer, fire attribute particles. In autumn, earth elements. And in spring, wood elements. This is a phenomenon. The core idea of the energy tide theory is external influences cause the concentration of atmospheric energy particles to fluctuate. Energy tide theory is often used by wizards to find and analyze the causes of abnormal energy environments. This is very important, especially in space geometry, secret realms, and plane research. Lis secretly slipped out of Mentor Felina's apartment. Thanks to Felina's protection, he no longer needed to attend classes, as long as he passed the final tests. For him, it was like a little calami. Enjoying the first winter sunlight, Lis strolled around to the back of the lake, climbed over the college wall, and headed toward his own workshop. His father, Padav, was still sentimental. Even as the owner of a blacksmith shop, he never forgot his roots. According to him, the villagers of Huawu Mountain Town all like the tools he makes, which are high quality, affordable, and good value. Because of this, he reopened a blacksmith shop next to the factory gate, also called Lisi's Blacksmith Shop. His father is really going down the wrong path. Lisi's arrived during class time, catching Padayev by surprise. His thunderous voice was loud, but actually caring. "You little guy, I've been saving and working hard to send you to school. Now that you've opened a factory, you're getting proud, and you've even learned to skip classes. Does Minter Felina know?" It seems his father doesn't know that Minter Felina has already become his wife. Hearing this, Lyses quickly explained, "Ahem." Minter Felina approved. "I need to study more advanced courses as a wizard apprentice. The courses at the town's college are no longer useful. I'm now self-learning. This time back, I'm here to learn blacksmithing skills." Padayev looked at his son with suspicion. In his memory, his son's grades weren't that good, and he hated his blacksmith skills the most. Once, old Padayev was angry and beat him several times over this. Now, old Padayev no longer mentions it. He accepts that the family's traditional blacksmithing heritage has ended with him. Has the day of the week come from the west? Seeing this, Lyses helplessly explained, "With the help of Felina and Golia, I've actually become a beginner wizard apprentice. I plan to specialize in mechanical alchemy. To learn mechanical alchemy, I must learn blacksmithing skills. I really have no choice." Seeing Padayev still suspicious, Lyses recited a spell. The wizard's hand magic model quickly formed in his mind space. He manipulated the wizard's hand to casually pick up a few objects. Seeing things flying out of nowhere, Padayev looked surprised. This is truly the skill of a wizard master. He was stunned, then suddenly tears welled up in his eyes. He happily raised Lyses. His voice was filled with wild joy. "God has answered. My Padayev family has actually produced a wizard apprentice." This man was overwhelmed with happiness, murmuring repeatedly not knowing how to express his excitement, then shouted 3 times, "Good, good, good." The sound was loud like thunder, echoing through the doorway, causing everyone nearby to look over and wonder what good news old Papa had.